In the 1980s, a cell light was on and a person was hanging by a chain. His body was covered in bruises and blood from being tortured. Even his feet were tied so he couldn't escape. A fly then crawled on his face, but he still looked calm. Despite all this, food was the first word out of his mouth after all the interrogation and torture. The soldiers were shocked to hear what he had just said. One of the torturers said that South Korean soldiers could serve the spies with food, but they didn't do that. The man who was being tortured then said that he would tell everyone if they gave him food. The chief officer asked if he meant it. He says he will give him food, but he must tell him about his destination and infiltration route in return. The prisoner agreed and said he was just trying to make a living by joining the army, but this way, he would starve to death. The chief officer ordered his subordinates to bring food from the kitchen, but his subordinates questioned his order, so the chief officer got angry and ordered him to shut up. He tells them that they have to hand this prisoner over to their superiors tomorrow, and that they will steal all their hard work if they can't get the information out of him. The subordinate finally understood and followed his orders. The prisoner was finally taken down and served food. He was given a spoon and chopsticks to eat his food, but his hands were still chained. He held the spoon with his fingers and started scooping up the soup. The prisoner then said that this soup tastes bland. Then he took one of the chopsticks and said that military food was always very strange. One of the army's underlings said that the taste of the food was not important right now. They were angry and intended to kill the prisoner. Suddenly, the chopstick stabbed the chief officer's forehead. At first, they did not understand what had happened. But then the officer's head fell on the table because he was dead. Now the soldiers were shocked to see this, as they couldn't see anything that was happening. The prisoner then said that the taste of the food was important. He held chopsticks in his hand. All the soldiers ran towards him to kill him, but the prisoner was able to kill them all with a chopstick. He then told the dead men that he was a senior intelligence sergeant named Janggon. His infiltration route was to swim through the ocean, and his goal was to kill them in the same way he had just done. Then he saw the fly that was bothering him before, so he aimed at it with his chopsticks and killed it. Janggon also thought that he should stop doing this. After a while, in the city of Seoul, Janggon is sitting with Lieutenant Colonel Park in a small restaurant. Lieutenant Colonel Park tells him that there is no one like him in their company, so why does he want to quit? Janggon replies that military food has lost its taste. Their food then arrived and the delighted lieutenant smiled and added the chunks of meat to the bone soup. He then gave the rest to Janggon, but Janggon stops him with chopsticks and says he doesn't eat like that. Janggon took the rice without scooping it all out at once. He then added it to the soup. This way he could enjoy the meal to the end without the rice getting soggy. As he eats, Lieutenant Colonel Park asks if he will not quit because of the operation. Janggon asks what he's asking because he just came back after finishing the surgery this time. Lieutenant Colonel Park said that he must have known exactly what operation he was referring to. Lieutenant Colonel Park said that at that time the plan was to return alive, and when Janggon returned alone, he did not fail in his operation. But Janggon says it's not about the operation. After a pause in their conversation, Janggon thanked Lieutenant Colonel Park for taking in a person like him who had no home and helping him earn money. Lieutenant Colonel Park smiles and says Janggon did everything well, and he is sure Janggon will be recognized for his abilities even after he is gone. 1 year later, at a construction site, 2 workers commented on Janggon's work, that he was very efficient at carrying heavy loads and digging. As Lieutenant Colonel Park said before, his abilities had been recognized, but he had not had an easy life. However, Janggon tries his own way. Lunch break finally came, and Janggon went to the nearest bank. Here he saw a girl at the counter busy dealing with older women. The girl looked at him, and Janggon waved at her with a smile. During break time, Janggon will go to the bank. It all started 1 year ago when he started working at a construction company. When he got his first paycheck, his owner advised him to save for the future because it would help him do what he wanted. But Janggon doesn't know what he wants to do in the future, and there is nothing he wants to do with money. So the next day, Janggon went to a nearby bank during his lunch break and opened an account there. That day he saw the girl for the first time and fell in love with her at first sight. After that, Janggon started going there every lunch break to see her, and every time he went there, he only saved 5,000 won, which was not a big amount. He wanted to go there as often as possible. After a year, the relationship that had built up between them was like the accumulation of interest in a bank book. Originally, Janggon wanted the girl to recognize his face. Then they remember each other's names. He also found out that Seona was born into a very harmonious family, but with low finances. So as soon as she graduated from high school, she got a job at this bank and has been working until now. Janggon tells Seona that he was previously a soldier and he worked at a construction site near a bank, living alone without a home or family to return to. Seona asked, Janggon wasn't he in the military for a long time, and asked why Janggon didn't have any money from it. Janggon replied that he gave everything to the families of soldiers who died while serving in the same unit as him. Janggon doesn't have a family, but they have parents, wife, and children too. But for Janggon it doesn't matter because he will work hard to save money again. Seona seemed impressed to hear that. Back to the present, as usual, Janggon asked Seona for help today. Seona received the book and advised Janggon not to do this and just save the money and then deposit it into a savings account with installments once a month. Because if not, this will be a hard job for Janggon. Janggon didn't know he had to do that, but he said if he did, he would only be able to see Seonga once a month. Seona's face turned red, and she returned Janggon's savings book. Like that, Janggon has a reason to live, but he still can't live well. He listened to the news on TV while lying on the couch at home tired. Janggon began to think about his past. When he became an adult, he entered the military and received various kinds of special training. He survived missions of high difficulty such as bombing, infiltration, and assassination. And Janggon does his best at the job. However, in recent years, he has felt that the things he is good at are not helping him make money, or he thinks that he might be bad at making money. He sighed and thought that he just wanted to eat good food. Shortly thereafter, he heard someone ringing the doorbell. The person who rang the bell asked if this was the residence of First Sergeant Janggon. Janggon partially opens the door and asks who he is. The person also asked if Janggon remembered him and introduced himself as Jo Tae-moon. He said they had worked together before. Janggon also recognizes that he is Staff Sergeant Jo Tae-moon, the successor who was once involved in an operation with Janggon. He has sufficient qualifications as a soldier, but in the end he was discharged from the military because of his temperamental nature. Janggon was surprised to see Jo Tae-moon dressed well and wearing an expensive watch. Janggon then asked Jo Tae-moon how he found him. Jo Tae-moon replied that he heard Janggon had left the company, and he looked everywhere for him, and finally found him. He tells Janggon that he has a job request for him. Out of curiosity, Janggon asked what kind of job. Jo Tae-moon also answered that it was the job that Janggon was best at. Janggon says he doesn't want to get his hands dirty for money. Jo Tae-moon clarifies that he doesn't want him to kill anyone. He just wants Janggon to teach someone a lesson. Janggon gets serious and asks him to be honest about what he wants. Jo Tae-moon said he was a successful businessman in the eyes of the public. But in reality, he is the boss of a gang, and the person Jo Tae-moon wants Janggon to take care of is the boss of another gang. Janggon tells him that he didn't leave his army job to do something like that. Jo Tae-moon, who was offended, asked what he meant by something like that. He asks if he quit his job to live in a rundown place like this. Janggon asks him to be careful with what he says. Jo Tae-moon then said if he agrees to do this job, he will pay him 50 million won, and with that money he can buy a nice house or start a business to improve his life. Janggon thought he couldn't save that much even in 10 years while working at a construction job. Jo Tae-moon gave him his card and said he could visit him if he changed his mind. Before Jo Tae-moon left, he said that it was strange that someone like Janggon tried to avoid doing something he was good at. Janggon put his business card on the table and then lay down on the floor. He didn't think he came here to live like this, but he intended to try doing what he had been doing a little longer and find out if he really couldn't live without doing the thing he was good at. While thinking about this, Janggon finally fell asleep. The next day, at the construction site, many racks of cement bags were present there. When Janggon arrived, his boss asked him to take all these bags to where they were needed. Janggon then asked where the other workers were. His boss replied that he only called him because he saw him a few days ago carrying a load, and he thought he could do this job without any help. Janggon looked at his smiling face and wondered if this man was really sane. Outside the bank, Seona and her co-worker were standing outside the bank drinking tea. She looked up at the sky and wondered how she was going to get through the day. Her colleague asked her why she said that when her face was always bright during lunchtime. Xiongxiona asked what she was talking about. Her colleague replied that she was really nice to Janggon, so she asked if she was attracted to him. Xiongxiona replied that he only came to deposit money into his savings account. She said if this was a shop, then Janggon would be one of their regular customers, so she should treat him well. Her colleague says she might be right, but Janggon doesn't look that handsome, nor is he rich. This comment made Xiongxiona uncomfortable. She smiled and said, Janggon may not be handsome, but she has a nice body. Her colleague replied that he worked at a construction site and had to lift bricks and heavy loads all day. However, Xiongxiona said her father also used to work on construction sites, but never had a body like him. Xiongxiong then leaned against her colleague and thanked her for meddling in her affairs. She warns her that she knows about her affair with the manager who looks down on them because they are from an all-girls technical high school. After returning to her counter, Xiongxiona wondered why she was angry before when she talked about Janggon. Then Janggon suddenly entered the bank and waved at her. Xiongxiona said it's not lunch break yet, so why is he here? Janggon replied that he would be busy later and came a little earlier. Xiongxiona then asked if he was here to put money in his account. But Janggon said that today he came to see Xiongxiona. While waving at her, Janggon said he would deposit a lot of money in his account once he returned. Xiongxiona's cheeks turned red and thought that Janggon had just come to meet her here. She asked what was wrong with Janggon because he was suddenly like this. Janggon headed to the bus terminal and took a ticket to go to Daesan. He immediately contacted Jo Tae-moon, accepted his offer, and headed to Daesan. While sitting on the bus, Janggon saw Jo Tae-moon's business card. He thought things might get better like what Jo Tae-moon said. When he arrived, Jo Tae-moon and his driver were already there to pick him up. When they had entered the car, Jo Tae-moon showed an image of a target named Park Gwan-ho. He tells him that the two of them are fighting for the rights to a tourist hotel slot machine. Jo Tae-moon wanted to barge in and fight one-on-one and settle all of this himself, but he couldn't fight him head-on because this way he would lose the rights to the slot machine. But if an unknown outsider who had nothing to do with them suddenly appeared and did it, then Park Gwan-ho probably wouldn't be able to show his face around here for a while, and everything would run smoothly. Jo Tae-moon then warns that it won't be easy because Lieutenant Colonel Park knows he will come for him, so he's under safe guard. He suggested that he wait a moment until he lowered his guard. Janggon then asked him what time it was. Jo Tae-moon was confused and answered that it was 1:30. Janggon also said that meant there was still a lot of time left until 4:30 in the afternoon. As Jo Tae-moon was still confused, Janggon informed the bank that it closed at 4:30 p.m. Now he asked him to take him to Park Gwan-ho's place so he could take care of him quickly. So Jo Tae-moon was able to deposit money in his bank account before the bank closed. Jo Tae-moon said if he left now he would have to fight many people, but Janggon thought it would be fine. After feeling stunned, Jo Tae-moon finally agreed to Janggon's request. Jo Tae-moon took him to the hotel where Park Gwan-ho and his subordinates had lunch. He also warned him about the special guard who was always with Park Gwan-ho. The man used to be a wrestler, so he advised Janggon to be careful. Janggon also asked what the best dish in this restaurant. The driver told him that here are good fried dumplings. Janggon gets out of the car and says he'll be right back. The driver also asked Jo Tae-moon if he was sure that Janggon was enough for this job. Jo Tae-moon replied that if another person like Janggon appeared, the world would be in chaos. Inside the restaurant, Park Gwan-ho was enjoying his lunch, while all of his subordinates were there as well. Janggon sits at a separate table in the corner with fried dumplings in front of him. He took the soy sauce and at a ratio of 1:1 poured it into the bowl. He sprinkled red pepper powder in it and dipped the dumplings in it. Janggon then ate it, and the taste of the food really satisfied him. Janggon finished his food and drank his drink. Janggon, who felt very satisfied, thanked him for this delicious food. After that he started throwing glasses at Park Gwan-ho and smashed them against the wall behind him. The fat man got angry and asked what was wrong with him. Janggon says he's trying to start a fight because the sound of his boss chewing food is annoying. Park Gwan-ho looked at him in annoyance and ordered his men to arrest him. They all ran towards him to attack him. In the face of the gang members running towards him, Janggon smiled. After a while, food was scattered, furniture was broken, and beaten men were everywhere on the floor. Only Janggon is standing with his hands in his pockets. The battered Park Gwan-ho asked who he was, because there was no way he didn't know a man as strong as him in this field. Janggon replied that he could remember him as an outsider with severe anger management issues. Park Gwan-ho grinned with his nose bleeding and asked who sent it. He said he would pay him double if he worked with him. Janggon wasn't sure if that person had enough money to pay him 100 million won. While Park Gwan-ho was talking something, Janggon asked him why he stopped talking. Suddenly he realized that there was someone behind him. The fat man was holding a chair in his hand and ready to attack him. Janggon defended himself using his arms. When the fat man attacked, he felt excruciating pain, like something inside his body had broken. He was about to hit him again, but Janggon kicked him in the groin. Tears quickly streamed down his face. Due to the pain, he fell to the ground and became unconscious. Janggon then raised his leg and kicked the fat man hard. Janggon then looked at Park Gwan-ho and asked if 4:30 in the afternoon was past. A nervous Park Gwan-ho checked his watch and said it wasn't even 2 p.m. yet. Janggon said it was good and left. When Janggon walked away, Park Gwan-ho asked while shouting what was so good. Janggon and Jo Tae-moon came out of the bank after depositing money in Janggon's account. Jo Tae-moon said he didn't think he would make it before when the bank closed. Jo Tae-moon then asked what he would do with this money. Janggon answered that he wasn't sure, but he saw some apartments near the bus terminal this morning, and maybe he would buy one there. Jo Tae-moon also said that the neighborhood was not very good, so he advised Janggon to look for an apartment somewhere in the middle of Seoul. Janggon thinks he might try stocks since everyone is doing that nowadays. Jo Tae-moon asked if he had a shop in mind. He suggested that he buy Han Electronics, as there was no chance for the company to go bankrupt, as it was responsible for supplying electricity throughout the country. Janggon said Sam Electronics seemed fine to him, because the company's new chairman was a smart man. Suddenly he felt pain, as if he had just been electrocuted. Janggon then asked if they could go to the hospital because he was sick where he got hit. Jo Tae-moon said they could go to the hospital he visited regularly. Janggon asks what he means regularly. He replies that there is an old doctor who doesn't seem surprised when he shows up there after being stabbed or injured. When he gets there, Janggon's arms are plastered, and he wonders what happened to him. The doctor told him that his arm was fractured, and that the fracture would take a month to heal. A shocked Janggon asks if he should stay like this for a month. Doctors warned him not to use his arm as it would delay the healing process. Janggon didn't like the situation where he was trapped in a stupid situation. Jo Tae-moon mocked him and said someone would have a hard time from now on. After leaving the hospital, the two of them went to a bar and drank. Janggon felt good, but then he asked if he could drink in this state. Jo Tae-moon asked if he didn't remember how he taught them to drink to heal wounds. Janggon laughs and says it's been a while since he heard that line. They both continue to drink and remember their past in the army when they worked together. Jo Tae-moon said he always knew that Janggon was strong, but he didn't know he would defeat so many people in such a short amount of time. Moreover, he won the fight with his bare hands. He said he also had guns ready in case he needed them. Janggon asks how he got the gun. While pouring more drinks, Jo Tae-moon informed him that rifles were easily available, but he had smuggled a revolver from Russia. Janggon said Jo Tae-moon had found a suitable job for him. Jo Tae-moon replied that the army suits him better. He also says Special Forces is also a good fit for Janggon, and asks why he left the job. Janggon becomes morose and says he and his 3 juniors participated in the mission, but he was the only one who came back alive. Jo Tae-moon was surprised. Janggon said he felt he no longer had the right to continue this work, so he quit. He thought they would come in his dreams, but they never did. He thought maybe they really hated him. Jo Tae-moon also asked him to drink again. After a while, they both looked at all the empty bottles and realized that they had drunk a lot. Janggon stood up and said he was leaving. Jo Tae-moon asked how he was going to get home now. Janggon said he would take the bus because he wanted to sleep on the bed. Jo Tae-moon thought he could book him a room at the hotel and he could leave tomorrow. But Janggon rejected it. Janggon was currently leaving while walking on the sidewalk. He felt like he had eaten too much, so he sat down on the bench. But he drank too much, so he fell asleep on the park bench. It wasn't long before a van from the Homeless Guidance Center passed him and stopped. Seeing Janggon lying on the bench, several workers saw this drunk man, with both hands paralyzed, lying there. They decided to take him in and give him some guidance, so they took him with them to the welfare facility. Janggon wakes up and sees a dream. He was in a field and it was very dark. Everywhere someone calls his name. He turned sharply when the voice came from behind. He saw two men in uniform. Both wore the same dog tag. Janggon recognized them. They were his junior partners on the mission. Suddenly he saw a gun by his feet. Janggon takes it and holds it to his head, saying if this is what they want, he will do it. But suddenly he wakes up from his dream. He saw a man clap his hands in front of his face to wake him up. Janggon sits up, but his arm still hurts. He asks the man who he is and where he is now. The man told him that his name was Lee Sunjo, and this place was a welfare facility. He told me it was a convict's clothes and wanted to explain more. But while he was explaining all that, Janggon stood up and left. Lee Sunjo asked him where he was going. Janggon replied that he was going home. He then stopped near the door because it was locked. He wondered why the door was locked from the inside. Lee Sunjo said he would explain that this was a place where people were forcibly imprisoned. Janggon is surprised and asks what he is talking about. But someone calls them from behind and asks what are they doing standing there. Lee Sunjo told Janggon that that person was their platoon leader and had a bad temper. Therefore he warned Janggon not to disturb him. But Janggon saw the key pinned to his arm and asked him to give him the key to the door. The man looked at him so angrily that Janggon kicked his leg and he screamed in pain. He wanted to punch him in the face, but then remembered what the doctor had told him about not being able to use his arms, so he stopped. Two of the leader's subordinates asked for permission to destroy Janggon. The man also ordered them to just send him to prison. One of them moved forward to hit him. Janggon thought he could defeat them, even with his injured arm, but if Lee Sunjo was right and they were imprisoned there by force, it would be difficult to escape with an injured arm. In order to escape from here, his arm needed to be properly healed. But the wound would likely worsen if the arm was hit, even if by accident. So he thought about what he should do. At the same time, Lee Sunjo came forward and told them that this man just came last night and didn't know where he was, and he didn't know who the great platoon leader was. Because of that, he behaved arrogantly. The man thought that it made sense. Lee Sunjo said they should give him one chance, and he would educate him properly. The man thought, and Lee Sunjo whispered to Janggon to beg for mercy, and said that it was all his fault. Janggon is still in shock processing what happened here, but he lowers his head and apologizes. But the man punched him in the head and told him to behave better. Then he asked everyone to go and prepare for the call. While marching, Lee Sunjo told him that he did well, and he would explain things later. Janggon observes that the man is counting people. There were 24 people including the new guy, and he started unlocking the door. On their way out, Janggon asked Lee Sunjo where they were going, and he replied that they would have breakfast. After listening to Janggon's breakfast, he became happy. He looked around and thought that this wasn't even a military base, but they all looked alike. Besides, this wasn't even a prison, but detaining people. But the strangest thing for Janggon was that they called trash in front of him breakfast. He wanted to stab the person in charge of the food with his chopsticks on the forehead, but they only gave them cutlery. While eating food, Lee Sunjo told him this place was a place where homeless people were brought in and guided. Janggon said he was not homeless, but Lee Sunjo said everyone in prison said the same thing. This place is actually where there are people who are captured and forced to work. The state funds every homeless person here, and to get that money welfare facilities lock people up. Janggon is surprised to hear that, and asks who did this, and what kind of human could do that. Suddenly 2 men entered the room. Lee Sunjo told him that these were people who did this to humans. Both of them are the director's sons. The one with the glasses is Park Gwang, the vice president here. The taller one is Park Yom, and he is the general manager. Janggon looks at them and says that they look like the president is on an inspection. Lee Sunjo said now was Janggon's chance to please those powerful people. There Park Gwang approached Janggon and asked him how he got this wound on his arm. Lee Sunjo told him that Janggon was a new convict who came here last night. Park Gwang asked if it was possible for him to live comfortably like this. Lee Sunjo said he would take good care of him, and would teach him everything. Park Gwang also appreciated his efforts. Lee Sunjo said he wanted to be the model student he got. Park Gwang smiled, and said he would remember his name the next time he chose. Now Janggon also discovered Lee Sunjo's real motive for being so kind to him. Park Gwang asked Janggon if the food here tastes good. He replied that the food is very bad here. Park Gwang, who looked irritated, asked what he just said. Lee Sunjo also started to worry because he was fine in front of the platoon leader, but now he was acting up again. Janggon says he doesn't think this food is even for humans because it's also rotten. Park Gwang lifted his tray of food and poured it on Do Janggon's head. He said he should thank them for giving him this food. He then smashes the tray on his head and asks how he dares complain about anything. He then threw the tray at Do Janggon's head. Blood rushed into their Do Janggon's eyes in anger, but he did nothing because of his broken arm. Park Gwang shouted at Lee Sunjo to teach him so he wouldn't say such crazy things anymore. After they left, Lee Sunjo asked if he was okay. But Do Janggon looks very angry because of it. Do Janggon dusted himself off after the insult. He was upset because he couldn't even clean himself properly due to his fractured arm. Afterwards, Do Janggon and Lee Sunjo swept the ground outside because this was the job assigned to them. Do Janggon complained because his clothes still weren't dry, but Lee Sunjo said the clothes were automatic when he worked. He then says he should be relieved that Park Gwang did this to him before bath time, otherwise he would have had to wait to clean himself. Do Janggon replied that it was unethical to do this to people before or after bathing. Then all of a sudden the inmate's bald old man comes there with clothes to wash and agrees with Do Janggon. Do Janggon noticed that his way of speaking was a bit strange. Lee Sunjo called him His Highness and asked why he was here. Do Janggon wonders if he means the president when he calls him His Majesty. A man then calls him from behind and says His Highness is said to be washing rags, so what is he doing out there? His Highness rushes away, asking why he is always the one doing the laundry. Do Janggon asks why the man is referred to as a noble and why he talks like he is the president. Lee Sunjo said it was not because he was impersonating the president, but he thought he was the president. He told me that he was an old man who came back from the Vietnam War and went crazy. He saw something and had a nightmare. He dreaded the sight of the bald president and shut him up every time he saw him on the news. As he aged, he became bald and he couldn't look in the mirror because it reminded him of the bald president's presence. Do Janggon says it's a shame he has to suffer. He asked Lee Sunjo how he knew so much about him, and he answered that the old man's friend was also locked up here, and he told him everything, but died due to some disease. Do Janggon is shocked and asks if he died in this place. Lee Sunjo said many people died here. Some were injured, some were sick, or some were beaten by staff or platoon leaders. He then asked if Do Janggon remembered the platoon leader saying he would send him to prison. He said if someone was sent to prison, they would not care for him there. They would leave him until he died. Do Janggon said that these people were very evil. Suddenly, the platoon leader called everyone to gather on the sports field. Lee Sunjo told him that today was investigation day, and he could see the worst person among all the bad guys. Do Janggon wonders what he's talking about. All of the detainees stood to listen to the director of the welfare facility. His name is Park Injae. Everyone bowed before him and he started talking and said there are various trees in the world, each of which has its uses. Similarly, humans also have their uses according to their prospective character and potential. Yet those who stood before him were worthless beings who were completely worthless on the outside. He called them crooked, unattractive trees. Then he said that just like Jesus, he became a carpenter to prune useless trees like them so they could find their worth. Everyone started clapping. Do Janggon didn't like all the nonsense he said shamelessly. While pretending to listen, he paid attention to the structure of the welfare facility. This place was created by cutting the middle of the mountain. Most of this place is surrounded by high walls. The only place without walls was the cliff where the mountain was cut. There was only one main gate, but the guards would attack him simultaneously if he tried to escape through the gate, so it was difficult to escape this hand. The speech finally ended, and Park Injae walked down the stage. He hugs his sons and thanks them for taking care of this place. Then Park Gwang came on stage and announced the names of the inmates who were selected as model students. Lee Sunjo was excited and hoped he could be selected as a model student. Do Janggon asks him what an honor student is. He replied that it was the person selected to be sent home from the welfare facility. Park Gwang said that the person chosen this time was from Platoon 4. Park Gwang called Kwak Do-young to the stage. Kwak Do-young thanks him and says he is happy that he can finally come home. Lee Sunjo felt envious seeing that. Kwak Do-young was then taken to the staff office where he asked when he would be discharged. Park Gwang told him that the doctor would come to check on his health one last time before he was sent home. After a while, the doctor came there to do a general examination and declared that he was healthy. Then he gave him an injection saying it was the nutrition that would keep him healthy on the outside. Soon, Kwak Do-young was unconscious. Two people then started taking him outside. When they brought him, Park Gwang asked them to take off his clothes because newcomers could use them to save money. The doctor said that Park Gwang was amazing and asked how he could even think about saving in this situation. Park Yom replies that he is no nonsense, like he who risked all his money and is now working under him. He warned the doctor not to cross the line if he wanted to save himself. Time had passed and Kwak Do-young was lying unconscious in the operating room. The doctor asked his assistant what today's order was about. He said it was liver and kidney. His assistant then asked if it was okay not to give this person anesthetic gas, because he could wake up at any moment. But the doctor took it as an insult and asked his assistant to do as he asked. Meanwhile, Kwak Do-young wakes up and sits wondering where he is. The doctor told him that they were checking him. Therefore, he didn't need to be afraid. He also punched the doctor in the face and ran away from there. Kwak Do-young didn't understand why he was here, even though they said he could go home. At the turn, he saw Park Yom walking. Park Yom looks very intimidating in front of Kwak Do-young. Park Yom then punched Kwak Do-young in the face. Kwak Do-young was then dragged back to the operating room by Park Yom. After they entered, the door closed. Jo Tae-moon and his subordinates sat down at a restaurant to eat. His subordinates informed Jo Tae-moon that Park Gwon-ho and his men were hospitalized, so their organization was paralyzed for now. As a result, Congressman Choi's office grants them the right to operate the slot machine business. Immediately, Jo Tae-moon put down his bowl and laughed loudly, saying he would drink until he was drunk. His subordinates told him that Congressman Choi somehow already knew everything that happened in one day, and he said he would give them the business right away. Jo Tae-moon said Choi was a smart old man and had quick decision-making, which made him a member of parliament. His subordinates then said that Choi wanted them to cut the ribbon to celebrate the opening of the slot machine. Jo Tae-moon has no problem with this. While eating fried dumplings, Jo Tae-moon recalled the time when Do Janggon asked about this restaurant's food. The driver said that the fried dumplings here are really good. Do Janggon came out and said that he would be back soon. Jo Tae-moon agrees that these fried dumplings are really delicious. But he was worried whether Do Janggon would get home safely because his arm was injured. Meanwhile, Do Janggon closes the spray bottle at the welfare facility. Lee Sunjo said that Do Janggon hadn't told him his name, so he asked his name. Do Janggon replied that his name was Do Janggon. Then Lee Sunjo asked him about the work he used to do outside. Do Janggon starts to think and replies that he usually does work that uses physical strength. Lee Sunjo asked if he injured his arm at work. Do Janggon then thought of when the fat man hit him with a chair and said yes. It wasn't long before the platoon leader came over and asked if they needed to talk a lot during their work. Lee Sunjo became frightened and apologized to him. The platoon leader asks Do Janggon what he did in front of the vice president to make him angry. Before he could answer, the platoon leader asked him to forget the question and be more careful next time, then asked if he understood. Do Janggon just kept silent. The platoon leader then hit him on the head and asked him to answer. Do Janggon gritted his teeth and answered yes. He looked at the key hanging from his arm and asked Lee Sunjo why the door was locked from the inside. They should have locked it from the outside if they wanted to lock it. Lee Sunjo answered that a long time ago, someone came for an inspection and said it was troublesome to lock from the outside because it looked like a prison. Since that day, they closed the door from inside. He adds that they choose people to be platoon leaders who have no outside authority, so they are obsessed with their newfound power and don't take them prisoners. Do Janggon finally understood the whole situation now. Lee Sunjo said he felt jealous because the man would be home now, but he was trapped here. Elsewhere, the doctor hands over a box of organs to General Manager Park Yom. The doctor asks Park Yom to tell the vice president that he completed everything without incident. Park Yom looked at him and then kicked him in the stomach. He told him to call the vice president sir. He then told him that he should accept his mistake and reflect on it. Park Yom then throws an envelope of money in front of him and leaves. The doctor forgot all the pain and guilt when he saw the money and started thinking about today's winnings and gambling. General Manager Park Yom then went to the smugglers and gave them the organ box. They then paid him a large sum. Park Yom then went back to his father's place and gave him all the money. His father praises his good work and asks him to rest, as delivering the box must be difficult. Then he put the money in a safe full of cash and locked it after that. Time passed, and everyone was sleeping there. But he suddenly woke up. Do Janggon thought that he had been there for 4 days and was used to this life. The experience of intensive training while active in the army really helped him adapt to this environment. But the one thing that still amused him was the food here. But he had no other choice until his arm healed. So he made himself believe that he was on a covert operation to survive here. He thought that back then he was afraid of nothing, even life-threatening missions. But now he was worried about one thing. He couldn't see Xiong during lunch break. He was worried what if Xiong forgot about him. Meanwhile, on the other side, Xiong was also waiting for him, and looked at the door expecting Janggon. But when the door opened, it wasn't Janggon who appeared. Her colleague then advised her to take a lunch break, and she would stand guard. While standing outside the bank, Xiong questions why Janggon hasn't appeared for several days. Xiong remembers when Janggon left, he said he would come back with money. Xiong hopes that Janggon is fine, and that nothing bad happens to him. Xiong hopes that Janggon is not injured, but on Janggon's side his hand is injured. Xiong wondered if Janggon had had an accident. At that time, the platoon leader slapped Janggon because he was working too slowly. To protect him, His Highness tells him that he will go the extra mile to compensate for this, and asks not to hit him as he is injured. The platoon leader then grabbed his noble by the collar and shouted at him to stop talking nonsense and calling him a madman. His Highness replied that he had not lost his mind and was the president of the country. The platoon leader then punched him in the face and walked away. Janggon, who saw His Majesty crying in pain, started to get angry and stood up. In his anger, he called the platoon leader to stop and called him a dog. After hearing Janggon summon the dog platoon leader, everyone in the room was terrified. The platoon leader turned his head angrily and asked if he had gone mad. Janggon remained calm and did not answer him. The platoon leader's two underlings looked at him angrily. Janggon saw them and thought that before the two people got in the way, he would kill them as fast as he could. The platoon leader ran towards him to attack him, but Janggon jumped in the air and kicked him. The kick was so hard that the platoon leader fell to the ground and became unconscious. They both then ran towards him to hit Janggon. Janggon thought it was difficult to handle 3 people at the same time when both his arms were injured, but these 2 were different, and he could beat them easily. He looked at one of them and grinned to make him lose his cool, and it worked. The man attacked him repeatedly, but Janggon dodged every time. Then Ce finds the right moment and kicks his back knee. The man grimaced in pain. Then Janggon throws up and kicks his chin, then knocks him down. He then threw one kick at the last man and knocked out all his opponents there. People were shocked to see one person beating 3 people. After doing that, Janggon realized that he was losing his temper. He might get in trouble if employees come there and see all this mess. Suddenly, Lee Sunjo started cheering his name, and all the other prisoners followed suit. He tries to cover it up, but they ignore him. Janggon gets worried. If any welfare workers come now, things will become even more complicated for him. Not long after, what he was worried about happened. A worker comes inside and asks what all the noise is about. Suddenly, every prisoner closed their mouths. When the man saw the platoon leader who fell to the ground, he took out his baton and pointed it at Janggon, and asked if he was the one who did this. Janggon didn't say anything, and he thought he could get rid of him if he kicked him, throwing away his stick, then headbutted him in the face, and then kicked him in the stomach. He asked himself whether he should subdue this person and get out of here. But in the end, he will be blocked by a high wall of steel gates, and they will try to stop him with full force. In that situation, it would be difficult for him to protect his arm. He could knock down some of them without using his arms, but if he got a more severe arm injury, he wouldn't be able to escape. So the best course of action to take now is to apologize. So he bends down in front of him and says he did all that by mistake. At the same time, both brothers come there. Park Gwang asked if he was the one who caused this mess. Janggon realizes that things can't get any more complicated than they are now. Park Gwang said it was amazing that a single man with an injured arm defeated 3 people by himself. He says he thought Janggon was just a fool who couldn't stand up for himself and could only complain about food. But it turns out he's much more than that. Then Park Gwang asked what Janggon's name was and what he was thinking while doing this. But Park Gwang said that he doesn't care what Janggon thinks. He was angry about the fact that Janggon thought, and it was a big problem. Janggon gets confused with Park Gwang. Park Gwang told him the rule was that platoon members must always listen to their leader. He had made those rules and others had to follow them no matter what. Park Yom glares at his face and says he can still see that Janggon is still thinking. Park Gwang then said that Janggon would be in the punishment room for 3 days. Even Lee Sunjo was surprised to hear this sentence. Janggon thinks it sounds like a prison cell, and 3 days in a cell is not a big deal. Park Gwang laughed hysterically and said that when he returned from that room, he would have no thoughts. However, Park Gwang told him to reflect on himself in these 3 days during his sentence. He waited for an answer, but Janggon didn't speak and kept looking into his eyes. Park Gwang turned around and looked at his brother for a sign. Park Yom walks up to him and calls his name, but Janggon doesn't answer, so he punches him in the face until his nose breaks and it starts bleeding. Then he told him to answer Park Gwang. Janggon said yes twice. Then the man kicked him in the stomach and told Janggon to hit back just once. Park Yom pushes Janggon's limits, but he has to stay calm. So he answered again and said yes. Park Yom hits him again, telling him to answer loudly and clearly. Park Gwang thought, before sending Janggon to the punishment room, he wanted to set an example for others so that they would not rebel against him. Then employees took him outside to lock him in the punishment room. Lee Sunjo was worried about what would happen to him in the punishment room. Janggon then looked back and smiled at Lee Sunjo. Lee Sunjo thought he must have gotten too smacked on the head a few times after seeing him smile. While walking towards the punishment room, Janggon thinks about the punch and says General Manager Park Yom's fist is quite strong. But he smiled, thinking that his boxing was better and he wanted to fight with him once his arm was completely healed. The welfare facility employee then hit him on the head and asked him to hurry up. He replies that he will come and thinks he will also hit this guy. Park Yom slaps the unconscious platoon leader in the face. After being hit, he finally opened his eyes. Annoyed, he shouted who did it, but he saw Park Yom in front of him and closed his mouth automatically. Park Yom tells him to come with him and tells the other workers to go back to work because their break time is over. They then took him outside. Park Gwang told him that he didn't think he was fit to be a platoon leader anymore. He replied that it was not, and that he could become the leader. Park Gwang then asks him how he can say that after being beaten and crushed by a man who can't even use his arms. He takes his badge and asks how can he lead if weak. But the platoon leader thought that he was not weak. But Janggon was much stronger and had nimble feet. But he couldn't tell Park Gwang because he would be transferred as platoon leader after that. So he lied and said that he was attacked from behind. Because of that, he couldn't protect himself. Park Gwang then asked if he wanted to say he could beat him in a real fight. Park Gwang orders him to go and beat him now. The platoon leader was frightened and asked if he should fight him. Park Gwang asks him how he can lead a platoon after being knocked out in front of his people. He tells him that he has sent Janggon to the punishment cell for 3 days. In fact, he was shocked to hear about Janggon getting a 3-day sentence there. Park Gwang said that the fight between them would happen after he came out of the punishment room, and after Janggon lost his mind. Now the platoon leader understood why Janggon was sent there on purpose. He will be mentally and physically weak after coming out, and he can beat him easily. Park Gwang patted him on the shoulder and asked if he could do this. Finally, the platoon leader said yes. Janggon was taken to the basement by officers. There was a big cell created there, and they entered it. Janggon saw some small rooms and thought he would be taken to solitary confinement, but he wondered why they made isolation rooms in the basement. Then he was surprised when the man opened the room and asked him to come in. The reason was that it wasn't a room, but rather a locker that a person could barely fit inside. Janggon wonders if they are punishing innocent people by locking them in here? The officer then shouted at him to move quickly and pointed his cane at Janggon's arm, then told him to get in before his arm was broken. Janggon finally gets inside and barely fits in there. He couldn't even stand up straight. The door was finally closed and the entire cell was dark and empty. Janggon thought that when he was in military training, he was trained in all forms of torture that might occur when captured by the enemy. Indoor torture is one of them. It is a torture where one cannot sit or lie down, so one cannot sleep properly in an uncomfortable position. They can't even eat, drink, or even pee. The person is forced to remain in this position. According to him, this kind of torture is used to break the enemy physically and mentally. But Janggon was furious that they could use this kind of torture on normal people. However, what was more worrying now was that he would have to spend 3 days here. The 6th day begins when the sun illuminates the sky and spreads beauty outward. 1 day has passed since Janggon was locked up in that punishment cell, but he can't keep track of the time and all other happenings outside. He wondered if it had been a day. He was exhausted, but he continued to fall asleep and woke up in a standing position. He wasn't sure if he was asleep or just opened his eyes briefly. But on top of all this, he felt very hungry. He wanted to eat, and his tongue kept saying one word: food. On the other side, in the 3rd platoon hall, Lee Sunjo was beaten by the platoon leader. Everyone present there was terrified seeing him like this. Lee Sunjo cried in pain because he wasn't used to it. The platoon leader shouted at him and said that he knew Lee Sunjo sided with Janggon while he was unconscious. He asks how he is happy now to be beaten for siding with him. Lee Sunjo tried to say something, but the platoon leader kicked his leg and covered his mouth. He tried to make other people feel ashamed because they were all involved in the rebellion scheme. Now everyone is hiding their faces like they know nothing about it. The platoon leader then grabbed Lee Sunjo by the hair and said he would show him what happens to people who go against their leader. Then he hit him in the face with his knee and threw him to the floor. He kept hitting him with his feet. His Majesty comes to him and asks him to stop this brutality, and asks why he is taking it out on him. The platoon leader saw him and then kicked him so he fell on top of Lee Sunjo. Elsewhere, Park Gwang and Park Yom are waiting for their father to pack the money in a shoebox in the director's office. He puts the money in a bag and says this is a bribe for a government employee. He prepared 3 bags and said the amount of money was the same, so they just had to deliver it. Park Gwang also asked Park Yom to come with him this time, and he agreed. Park Gwang then saw a large box of money kept separately on the floor and asked what about that one. His father told him to leave this one here because it was for someone else. Park Yom asks why there is so much money in this box, and his father tells him that the people who received this box are more than government employees. He's a very important key to the management of this country. Park Gwang and Park Yom also drove the car to deliver the money. On his way, Park Yom asks about how these people can help them in their business and get this gift in return. Park Gwang replied that they helped in various ways. They arrived at the welfare department of Daesan City Hall. The employee said he was grateful. This helps them to get government funding. Park Gwang replied that he felt obligated to do more for themselves. In the seaside town, they meet the head of the Daesan police station. After looking at the shoebox, the man said these shoes look good and heavy. Park Gwang bowed his head in respect and said that he should travel around the country for the citizens. So he asked him to keep doing what he was doing and running around in the shoes they gave him. And finally, they gave him to the Daesan district prosecutor on an empty street and gave him his gift. They suppress any attempts by whistleblowers to expose welfare facilities to the public. The prosecutor held the bag in a way that seemed to guess its weight. He speaks in code and says that he likes apples, but pears will do this time. Park Gwang bowed his head and assured him that he would bring apples once the season came. After the prosecutor leaves, Park Gwang mutters that he doesn't need to be picky about it and takes what they give him. He then gave some money to Park Yom. Park Yom is shocked and asks if he took some of the bribe money. Park Gwang answered yes and asked how they could bribe someone if they didn't get anything for the trouble they had. He tells him that he also took some bribes last time and no one found them. That's why he brought Park Yom here. He says as brothers should share good things. Park Yom thanks him for looking after him. After sitting in the car, Park Gwang asked him to go to eat something good because they had done a good job. After arriving at the restaurant, they ordered some meat cooked by themselves. Park Gwang put a piece of meat and some seasonings on a lettuce leaf and fed Park Yom with his hands. Seeing his younger brother chewing food, Park Gwano said that he ate very well. They also enjoyed their meal. In the middle, Park Yom asks if Park Gwang is serious about forcing the leader of Squad 3 and Janggon to fight once he comes out. But Park Gwang believes a man who has been in the punishment room for 3 days has no chance of winning. Park Yom replies that he knows there is no chance of winning for normal people in this situation. But Janggon knocks out 3 men with broken arms. Park Yom said he thinks this might happen. Park Gwang interrupts him and asks Park Yom if he thinks Janggon will be of use to them if he is really strong. Park Yom asked how Park Gwang got him to listen to him when he could beat up a platoon leader and his men. Park Gwang said it was almost impossible for now, but if he destroyed him this time because of the punishment room, he could make him follow his every order. 2 days finally passed since Janggon was locked up in the punishment room. Janggon couldn't sleep for 2 days in a row. His face looked like a soldier who had lost his country. He was very hungry, and his mouth was saying the words of all the food he could think of right now. He gave his mind and body a reason to keep on living and not give up. Besides, back then he thought of another reason to keep fighting. It was Miss Seong Seona. Her beautiful face and sweet smile appeared in his mind. Janggon remembered that he had never asked her out to eat. He imagined the scene in his mind when he asked Seong Seona to have dinner with him, and Seong Seona would happily accept his invitation. And when Seong Seona asks what they should eat, he will answer that it doesn't matter as long as he eats with her. He said these words while trying hard to keep himself alive. The third day of punishment had finally ended in this punishment room. The next day when the lockers were opened, Janggon fell to the ground because he didn't have the strength to control his body. He could barely lift his neck and look up. Park Gwang looked at him and smirked while saying that these were the eyes he wanted to see. Park Gwang ordered them to quickly move Janggon from here. Janggon lay on the floor and couldn't move because of the lack of energy. Lee Sunjo and His Highness, who were standing near their bars, came there and helped Janggon up by supporting him. Lee Sunjo looked at him and said he didn't look good, and they should move him fast. They helped Janggon walk, and they all followed Park Gwang. While passing through an empty lot, Janggon saw Lee Sunjo's face and asked him if he was okay and what happened to his face. Lee Sunjo told him that he was beaten by the platoon leader for siding with him that day, and they also beat His Majesty for raising his voice for Lee Sunjo. His Majesty smiles and says he is fine. When Janggon looks at him, he feels sorry for him. He asked Lee Sunjo where they were going because he was starving and wanted to eat something. Lee Sunjo replied that they were not going to eat at this time. All the prisoners gathered in the field and looked fearfully at the platoon leader. The platoon leader looks ready to fight. Janggon was also brought here, but he looked miserable as he was barely standing. He understood that they were trying to make him fight the platoon leader as soon as he came out of the punishment room. The platoon leader remembered what Park Gwang had told him that day. He had to save some face after getting beat up in front of everyone. He thought that he had already won this fight. All he has to do is defeat Janggon while acting as if nothing is wrong. Park Gwang laughed and said it was like watching a gladiator duel, but Park Yom didn't laugh at his joke. He looks at Janggon and says that this is more like an execution than a duel, but Park Gwang says it will still be fun to watch. He then ordered his officers to start the fight. Both of them were brought in front of each other. The referee tells them to start when he gives them the signal. The weak Janggon thought that he wanted to rest for a while. The platoon leader looked at his friends as they tried to say something. The referee finally gave the signal to start the fight. The platoon leader shouted like he was trying to intimidate Janggon. At that moment, he remembered yesterday's meeting with his friends. He tells them he will fight Janggon once he gets out. He was still worried because they all knew how strong Janggon was and how he beat them all with his feet. He said that Janggon would not be in the best condition after his discharge, but he still wanted to ensure his victory in the fight. His friend told him that there is one way. He said that Janggon's arm was injured, so he had to kick his arm when the fight started. He was sure it would hurt him like hell, and he wouldn't be able to fight back. The platoon leader also said it was a cheap trick, but that was what could give him victory. When the fight started, the platoon leader ran towards him while shouting at full power. Meanwhile, Janggon moves from his place and thinks this will end if he gets beaten. So he wanted to let him beat him up and finish it quickly, because he had no desire to fight. But suddenly he remembered his injured arm, and he couldn't just let him beat him like that. When the platoon leader threw a kick towards his arm, he bent backwards to avoid it. The platoon leader didn't expect it, and was shocked. Janggon turned to attack and threw a kick at the platoon leader's stomach. The platoon leader screamed in pain and his face turned red. Park Yom was surprised to see his moves and wondered if he practiced martial arts. Park Gwang laughed in amusement. Tears and saliva flowed from the platoon leader's eyes and mouth. He thought if Janggon had just come out of the punishment room, but how could he be so strong? Janggon then saw Lee Sunjo's injured face and His Majesty, who was beaten for cheering for him that day. This increased Janggon's anger, and the desire for revenge emerged in his mind. He turned to the platoon leader. The platoon leader could see what would happen to him next. Janggon kicked him in the face and broke his nose so it bled. This one strike sent him crashing to the ground. Everyone's eyes forgot to blink because everyone there was so shocked. Janggon then continued to beat him with kicks to his face. The platoon leader's friends were frightened by what was happening there. Lee Sunjo got excited and once again started cheering for Janggon. His Majesty is also happy and says he has always believed in him. The platoon leader seemed to be half dead when foam came out of his mouth. Janggon then approached Park Gwang and asked him if he was satisfied now. Park Gwang smiled and replied that he was a funny guy, and yes, he was completely satisfied. Janggon said he would go. But before he finished his sentence, Janggon lost consciousness and fell to the ground. The referee ran over to him to check if he was okay. Park Gwang asked about what happened to him. Referee sees his face and says he's sleeping. Park Gwang smirked and said this guy was really funny and he had thought of a good and fun idea for him. Do Janggon was sleeping soundly, but suddenly he opened his eyes. He saw Lee Sunjo standing beside him, excited to see him wake up. Do Janggon looked weak and couldn't open his eyes properly. He asked in a weak voice, "What happened?" Lee Sunjo replied while yawning that he fell asleep and Lee Sunjo brought him here. He also skipped work today to be here with her. Do Janggon tried to sit up, but suddenly he saw a ribbon and key stuck to his arm and asked Lee Sunjo what this was. Lee Sunjo told him that the vice president crowned him as the new leader of the 3rd platoon while he was asleep. Do Janggon looks at him and asks if he's serious. Park Gwang and Park Yom are in the office. Park Yom looks a little worried about something. Park Gwang made tea and added 2 spoonfuls of tea sugar and milk each. He then gave his teacup to Park Yom and asked him to be careful because it was hot. While sipping his tea, Park Yom asked him what he was thinking at that time. Park Gwang said what he meant. He said he didn't like the taste of the tea because it tasted good to him. Park Yom replies that he's not talking about that, but he does ask why he made Do Janggon the platoon leader. Park Gwang replied that the first and most important reason was that the previous leader was weaker than he expected and Do Janggon was stronger than he thought, so he would come in handy when they needed him. Park Yom said that he thinks Do Janggon is not just an ordinary person who knows how to fight. He also thinks about his fighting style and says Do Janggon is definitely a trained fighter. Park Gwang asked him what he wanted to say here. Park Yom replies that if Do Janggon's arm heals completely, they might not be able to control it anymore. Park Gwang then asked if he knew about this. He says only hire one of their workers to lead the platoon. He told Park Yom to imagine if 30 prisoners attacked one employee at the same time, it would not take much effort to defeat one worker. If they think about it according to the physical aspect, it makes sense. But not a single prisoner came out in rebellion and attacked that one employee. Park Gwang asked why they hesitated to do it. Park Yom answered that there are 2 possibilities. The first reason, they hate each other, or they think that other employees can quickly provide help. Even if they tried, they knew they would most likely only get as far as the barricades and walls, and then they would be beaten and put in the punishment room. Park Gwang answered that that wasn't the exact reason why they didn't rebel, but because fear and helplessness control them and keep them obedient. In Southeast Asia, when they train elephants, they tie up baby elephants and beat them with iron hooks to make them afraid of humans. Even when the elephant grows big and can trample a person to death, it cannot do so because it is afraid of humans. Do Janggon was like that baby elephant. They had to train him the same way they would train anyone else. Park Yom asked if it was really necessary to make Do Janggon a platoon leader. Park Gwang says it is necessary because this position will relax him, and as time passes, he will accept this place as his home, like the others. At that time, Do Janggon was sitting on his bed. Meanwhile, the 2 subordinates of the previous platoon leader sat down on the floor nearby. They asked Do Janggon to forgive them for what they did to him in the past. Do Janggon is informed that the former platoon leader was sent to prison after the fight, and now his followers are begging for their lives on their knees. He told them that they apologized to him, but he could not forgive them. Their faces turned gloomy, and they asked why. Do Janggon tells them that he cannot forgive them because he has nothing to forgive. He had not been there long and held no grudge against either of them. They also look relieved. But then Do Janggon says they are the ones who should be apologized for. Do Janggon then yawned and told them to talk it over among themselves since he was going to sleep again. The 2 of them kept screaming for help to save them, but Do Janggon turned his head away and fell asleep. After Do Janggon wakes up, he wonders if lying down like that ever made him this happy. Then he saw the keys and the armband, and wondered why they were giving him these things. He remembered that they were just about to make an example of him when he walked out of the punishment room. They hoped to save some face for the platoon leader from his final defeat, but then their plans were ruined by him. When he took the guy down, they might send him to jail because he was no longer of any use after losing to him twice to him. Do Janggon could understand their plan up to this point, but what could be the reason for making him the platoon leader? Do Janggon started grinning and saying how adorable they were. According to Do Janggon, they have never met anyone smarter than them because of the rotten environment around them, or they don't know that other people are not as selfish as they are. Do Janggon decided that he would do what they wanted for now because this was the best way. At the Daesan Hotel, there is a celebration of the opening day of the casino and dining room. All the decorations were made according to Jo Tae-moon, and Choi was ready to cut the ribbon. The speaker announces the ribbon-cutting ceremony will begin and begins the countdown. When the count was up, they finally cut the ribbon, and the media took their photos. Then Choi shook hands with Jo Tae-moon, congratulating him on this big day. Jo Tae-moon respectfully bowed his shoulders and expressed his thanks to Senator Choi. But in his mind, he called him an old bastard, and said if he hadn't had a tug-of-war between him and Park Kwan-ho, he wouldn't have had to wait this long. The senator's secretary then reminded him that it was time for his next appointment, so he goes and says they will meet soon and discuss what they couldn't do today. Jo Tae-moon bowed his head and congratulated him on his journey. After they leave, his secretary tells him that the senator has left and he can stand up straight now. Jo Tae-moon was annoyed because he knew the senator would call to see him again, and that meant his secretary would have to prepare another box of apples for him. Then Jo Tae-moon invited everyone to go eat. One of his underlings asked where they should go eat. Jo Tae-moon replied that they would go to a place where the dumplings were delicious, but they could order whatever they wanted. While the treats were going on, Jo Tae-moon looked happy today, so he enjoyed it with them as well. His secretary poured him a drink. He said that Jo Tae-moon had done a good job, but he suddenly became moody while drinking, so his secretary asked him what was the reason for this sudden sadness. He says if this is because of the money to give to the senator, he doesn't need to worry as he can make a lot of money with this new business. Jo Tae-moon said money is nice, but everything is boring. He said that when he first started it, he liked it because everything had a clear set of rules. The strongest person will get to the top. Just like that, he got rid of the weak and made it here. But now that he had the business, he had to hold himself up front like a senator. Jo Tae-moon said that business rules are dirty. After dinner, Jo Tae-moon said goodbye to his men who bowed before him. On the way home, he asked the driver to drop him off there. His subordinate warned that they were still a little far from home, and he was also drunk. Jo Tae-moon assured him that he just wanted to take a walk. He will come to his senses after a walk. On his way, suddenly he was called by Park Kwan-ho and his men in front of him. Jo Tae-moon smiled and asked where the others were. Were they still in the hospital? Park Kwan-ho looked at him angrily and said he came here because he had to ask him a few questions. Jo Tae-moon said that he knew the rules. If they won against him, he would answer his questions. Park Kwan-ho was annoyed and ordered his men to attack Jo Tae-moon. Jo Tae-moon got excited and started running towards them. When Jo Tae-moon ran towards them, he was greeted by a big man who was waving his wooden staff. But Jo Tae-moon could easily avoid it. As if playing games, he said that almost in a mocking tone. Another member of Park Kwan-ho's gang then swung his wooden stick at Jo Tae-moon while calling Jo Tae-moon an arrogant, impudent person. But Jo Tae-moon once again dodged it and responded with a punch to the face very quickly. Jo Tae-moon replied that he was not arrogant, but he was just confident in his abilities. The counterattack was so fast that the gang members were almost unconscious and fell down. At that moment, Jo Tae-moon punched another enemy. Jo Tae-moon asked in a mocking tone where their self-confidence had gone. At that time, the man attacked Jo Tae-moon from behind, but Jo Tae-moon noticed and punched him. He then turned back and asked where he had been because he was interrupted in the middle of the conversation. Suddenly, someone strangled him. The big man, who was previously fought by Do Janggon, strangled Jo Tae-moon and lifted him in the air, saying that he could continue talking nonsense. While strangling Jo Tae-moon, he told Jo Tae-moon to continue spouting nonsense because his next words might be his last words. Jo Tae-moon was in pain and had difficulty breathing when he lifted her. Park Kwan-ho's subordinates were happy to see him, but the big man suddenly screamed in pain. The big man was shaking in pain while holding his crotch because he had been kicked hard in the groin. Jo Tae-moon, who had been put down, punched the big man in response. After that, Jo Tae-moon took a wooden stick and said that the warm-up was finished. But suddenly they were stopped by Park Kwan-ho. He said that this was enough and invited Jo Tae-moon to talk. Jo Tae-moon threw away his wooden stick and agreed to Park Kwan-ho's invitation. Jo Tae-moon then asked why Park Kwan-ho was here and whether he wanted to arrest him for stealing the founding rights of a slot machine company. Park Kwan-ho replied no, because revenge would not earn him that right. As he said earlier, Jo Tae-moon wanted to ask Jo Tae-moon something. He asked the person who attacked them alone. Park Kwan-ho told him not to even think about being evasive by saying he wasn't the one because there was no reason to hide it anymore since he already got the business. Jo Tae-moon replied that it was true and asked what was the reason he was looking for him to get revenge. Jo Tae-moon walked back and said that he would not say anything that Park Kwan-ho did because he already said he would answer if he won. Park Won-ho then asked where Do Janggon was now, because he couldn't find him anywhere. Jo Tae-moon answered that he didn't know either, but he told him that Do Janggon left after drinking with him the night he attacked Park Won-ho. Jo Tae-moon even emphasized that he really didn't know where Do Janggon had gone. After leaving that place, Jo Tae-moon felt uncomfortable because he was drenched in sweat. But he found it a relief. Park Won-ho and his subordinates returned to their headquarters. The big man apologized to Park Won-ho, but Park Won-ho said that he didn't expect much from the start. He knew that even if the man's body was in the best condition, he didn't stand a chance. Suddenly, a loud voice called Park Won-ho. Someone arrived at the door and asked what was going on here. He is Sang-cheol, who just came back from reservist training. Park Won-ho also told what happened to Sang-cheol. Hearing that Sang-cheol said that this was not what he thought would happen when he went to practice, and apologized to Park Won-ho. But Park Won-ho said that it wasn't his fault that he joined the reservists' training, but Kim Shin-jo's. Sang-cheol then said that he would kill Jo Tae-moon now, but he was stopped by Park Won-ho and told him to forget it because he had to do other things. He then asked Sang-cheol if he had heard about the hospital where Jo Tae-moon's subordinate was being treated. Sang-cheol knows that place, which is led by the old man. Park Won-ho told that the person who attacked them injured his arm, so he might be hospitalized there. He tells Sang-cheol to go find information about him. Sang-cheol doesn't understand why Park Won-ho is targeting Do Janggon. Even though he was paid by Jo Tae-moon and the one stealing their business was Jo Tae-moon, he asked whether they should target Jo Tae-moon. Park Won-ho replied that Do Janggon had stepped on his pride. For gangsters, that's outrageous. Sang-cheol finally understood and agreed to Park Won-ho's order. The next day, the old doctor who had treated Do Janggon asked where he was injured. Sang-cheol, who was in front of him, answered that it was in his heart because someone was causing trouble with his hung-nim. He then suddenly grabbed the old doctor by the head and slammed his head on the table. After being asked, the old doctor finally told him that the name of the man he was treating at that time was Do Janggon. Sang-cheol then asked for the insurance number and address, but the old doctor didn't know because he didn't ask for data like that from the patient Jo Tae-moon brought. After getting information from the old doctor, Sang-cheol called Park Won-ho and told him that he only got his name from the old doctor. Hearing that, Park Won-ho told Sang-cheol to visit another place. He told them that the children found the bar where Do Janggon and Jo Tae-moon were drinking together. Sang-cheol also visited the place and ordered a bottle of soju and udon. After receiving the food he ordered, Sang-cheol asked if he had ever seen anyone with casts on both hands here. When the restaurant owner answered yes, Sang-cheol gave him the money and asked him to tell him about it. He accepted the money and said that Do Janggon was drunk after drinking several bottles of soju and said he had to go home. He remembered that Do Janggon said he could go up and he didn't think his house was around here. Soon someone called Sang-cheol loudly. Not far from his table, it turned out that Jo Tae-moon's subordinates were eating there. They asked Sang-cheol what he is doing here. Sang-cheol realized that they were members of Jo Tae-moon's gang and told the shop owner to hide first. When approached by members of Jo Tae-moon's gang, Sang-cheol replied that he wanted to eat udon because he said it was delicious, and asked what was wrong with that. One of Jo Tae-moon's gang members looks at him aggressively and asks if he knows this around their area. Sang-cheol looked back and said that he didn't enter his territory and ordered udon. Gang member Jo Tae-moon smiled and said to Sang-cheol that his gang was a mess when he left and asked if he didn't hear. Suddenly he was flushed by hot udon. Sang-cheol stood up holding the soju bottle. He then swung the bottle and hit him on the head. After that, Sang-cheol asked the other Jo Tae-moon gang members if they wanted to. The remaining members of Jo Tae-moon's gang hesitate in front of Sang-cheol. Sang-cheol then suddenly kicked one of Jo Tae-moon's gang members in the head. The last member of Jo Tae-moon's gang was scared to see him, but he decided to punch Sang-cheol. But he was met with a fist from Sang-cheol. They finally left the restaurant. Sang-cheol asked the shop owner to continue their conversation earlier. The shop owner told him that Do Janggon might have gone out drunk and said he wanted to take the bus, even though there were no buses. So he said that Do Janggon might be sleeping on the street because he couldn't get the bus. Sang-cheol thought that made sense, and that he might just get a bus in the morning. He gets annoyed because this is more complicated, because Do Janggon has been gone for a long time. But the shop owner said it was possible that Do Janggon was still in this city. When asked why he was so sure, the shop owner said that recently, the Daesan Welfare Facility had been rounding up homeless people and people sleeping on the streets at night. And from what he's heard, You could get arrested just for walking alone at night. Hearing that, Sang Cheol decided to check it out then. At the welfare facility, currently on lunch break. At that time, Janggon seemed to be thinking about something. Lee Sunjo, who realized this, asked Janggon if he thought of something. Janggon replied that he was wondering if he could recover if he ate trash like this. His Highness also offers to find herbal medicine for him. Janggon didn't expect that they had herbal medicine here. Lee Sunjo also said that if he could, he would be very grateful. But Lee Sunjo whispered to Janggon because they knew how he was. Janggon also remembered with a noble state hearing that. Not long after, Park Gwang and Park Yom came to this place and were greeted by the prisoners. Park Gwang then noticed Janggon's existence and came over to him. Janggon also greeted Park Gwang. Park Gwang then said, however, Janggon had been here for quite a while, so he asked how the food was. Hearing that question, Janggon was silent for a moment. Lee Sunjo hoped in his heart that Janggon would not say extravagant things like before. Janggon answered that the food tasted very good. Park Gwang was satisfied with that answer and left Janggon. Once they left Lee Sunjo, that was good work. When Park Gwang went out with his sister, he said that as they saw humans adapt as their environment changes. However, Park Yom wasn't so sure, and glanced at Janggon, who was chatting with his friends. Park Gwang is very confident that he can master Janggon in the near future. On a wall, His Highness is looking for something in a hole in the wall. Lee Sunjo, who witnessed this, asked why he even dug a hole in the wall, even though he said he wanted to find herbal medicine. His Highness asked him to be patient first. Lee Sunjo then asked why Janggon was also coming. Janggon answered Lee Sunjo himself, who ordered him to obey. Besides, there was nothing he could do for the rest of lunchtime. While still in the military, Janggon and his friends also spent time with unimportant activities, and he believes the time they spend doing that is a moment where they can feel like ordinary people. He thought moments like that were really needed in a place like this, the Daesan Welfare Facility. His Majesty finally found what he was looking for. He then gave what he found to Janggon. Lee Sunjo was surprised because what His Majesty was a baby mouse. His Majesty said that these mice were born from sick mothers, but they were still young, so they were fine to eat. The meat and bones are soft, so he can eat everything. Janggon was hesitant when he heard that he had to eat everything, but His Majesty asked, didn't Janggon need calcium and protein to heal his hands? Lee Sunjo felt this was too much and asked Janggon to leave. Janggon wonders in his mind whether His Highness studied this in Vietnam or at the Samchung re-education camp. He also might know from the street when his mind is not in his right mind. Lee Sunjo found it strange that Janggon was silent. Janggon then said that he was right. At first, Lee Sunjo thought that Janggon said he was right, but Janggon said that if his hand wants to heal, he needs nutrition, which surprised Lee Sunjo. Janggon then took the baby rats from His Highness and immediately ate them. Lee Sunjo, who witnessed that, felt like throwing up. While eating the baby rats, Janggon thinks that in order to survive here, he must always remember that he is just an ordinary person. However, in order to survive in this cruel place, he had to be even more ruthless. In the staff room, one of the employees was getting ready to change his clothes. When his friends saw that, he said that he was jealous because he wanted to go home now while he was on duty today. They then asked why he was in such a hurry, even though he was not married and did not have a wife waiting for him at home. Another friend of his said that precisely because he didn't have a wife waiting at home, he was excited to go home. The employee ignored them and said he would go ahead. He bit his nails and thought that he didn't have a wife he wanted to meet, but he had someone else he really wanted to meet. While holding the cards, he was very hopeful. He was gambling in a restaurant. When he saw the cards he got, he thought he would finally win. On the table, there are so many piles of money. He thought that he had already borrowed money from the dealer and it was too late when he realized it. But he thought that it would be fine since he would win. When he heard the results of the other player's cards, he thought that this was good and showed his cards confidently because he got a 9. But another player who had not yet shown his cards asked in a mocking tone whether he was sure that he was lucky with the bad cards. He was annoyed by the taunt, but the player then showed that he had a flush. He was shocked and asked how this could happen. Having lost all the money he had lent him, he was approached by security and invited to hold a private counseling session on how to repay them. Moments later, he was naked and beaten. He didn't understand how it could be like this, and why his opponent was able to get a flush. Then suddenly he heard a loud sound that startled him. Sang Cheol comes and says that he shouldn't think about why he got the royal flush, but should introspect on why he gambled. He then asks who he is, but Sang Cheol replies that he doesn't need to know who he is and asks if he works at the Daesan Welfare Facility. He was surprised and asked how Sang Cheol could know. Sang Cheol didn't answer that and said that he wanted to ask a few things because he needed confirmation about whether the person he was looking for was there or not. At first he refused, because the internal information was confidential. Sang Cheol knew that. That's why he came here to ask him. He was hesitant, but Sang Cheol said that he took over his debt from the townhouse manager, so he owed Sang Cheol now. However, Sang Cheol said that if he did as he was told, he would erase the debt. So once again Sang Cheol asked if there was anyone named Janggon at the Daesan Welfare Facility. He told me that both of his hands were injured, so it should be easy to find. He also remembered Janggon, who fought against the platoon leader before, and told Sang Cheol that he was there. Sang Cheol then asked if he could bring Janggon to him because he had to take care of some things with him. Sang Cheol really wants to meet Janggon to kill him, but the welfare facility employee replied that it was impossible because it was completely beyond his control, especially when it comes to sneaking prisoners out of the facility. After thinking for a moment, he asked him if he could go inside. The welfare facility employee also said that Sang Cheol didn't seem to know what kind of place a welfare facility was. He said that the place was worse than the prison out there, and once in, it's nearly impossible to get out. Sang Cheol also said that meant he had to help him. However, the welfare facility employee answered that it was difficult to do because the security was very high, but there was one way. He informed that the facility regularly patrolled at night according to schedule. That's when they arrested homeless people, drunks, and others on the streets of Daesan. If Sang Cheol pretended to be homeless on the date, he said, then he could enter the facility without being suspected. Sang Cheol also agreed to the plan. On the announced date, the welfare facility employee asked Sang Cheol if he really wanted to write off his debt. After that, he gave Sang Cheol his prison clothes and asked him to change his clothes. After wearing the shirt, Sang Cheol said that he would write a letter of recommendation regarding the payment of the employee's debt. He is then taken to the 3rd platoon, where Janggon is, and he tells them to welcome the newcomers. Lee Sunjo wondered how the newcomer ended up here. Janggon came over to Sang Cheol and said that he hoped they could get along well, then introduced his name. Seeing Janggon greet him, he was sure that he was Janggon because both of his hands were in casts. Sang Cheol lowered his head and introduced himself to Janggon and asked Janggon not to speak formally to him. Janggon was surprised by Sang Cheol's reaction. Sang Cheol then said that he didn't know what to do because he was dragged to this place suddenly, but smiled and said that he knew that in the land of Joseon, he had to respect those who were more powerful than him. Janggon laughed awkwardly and asked Lee Sunjo to take Sang Cheol to an empty bed. Lee Sunjo cheerfully asked Sang Cheol to follow him. While bringing Sang Cheol, Lee Sunjo said that from what he saw, he felt that Sang Cheol could blend in well. Sang Cheol replied that he had experience with this kind of environment. Lee Sunjo also said no matter what, just continue with that attitude. But suddenly Sang Cheol called him harshly. With an intimidating look, Sang Cheol asked Lee Sunjo if he had the platoon commander's armband. Lee Sunjo became nervous and answered no. Sang Cheol also asked why Lee Sunjo told him to do this and that. The frightened Lee Sunjo apologized and showed Sang Cheol's bed. Sang Cheol lay down on the bed and closed his eyes. The armband on Janggon's arm, Lee Sunjo felt very jealous. Noticing Lee Sunjo's face, Janggon laughed and asked if he was crying. Lee Sunjo turned his face away and reasoned that he was yawning because he was sleepy. At that time, Sang Cheol thought that he could not believe that Janggon was kidnapped and placed in a situation like this. But Janggon had an armband and was made a platoon leader in this place. However, he thought that it was better for him. He'll pretend to follow this damn role and kill Janggon when he's off guard. In a beautiful mountain path, with nature that is still very beautiful, thousands of years before the present day, a young man is shown who was locked up and paraded with many bodyguards. He was a thin, scruffy man with long hair named Chin Jun. He feels that he is the most unlucky transmigrator in history, because the owner of the original body he was using right now had just been accused of embezzling money from work, and the emperor of the kingdom sent him to the border as a manual laborer as punishment for him. Plus, instead of being sent back to the ancient times where only lacking in technology, he was sent to an era where gods and demons existed, an era where all humans have superpowers, even immortals. But Qin was only at the second layer of qi condensation and the most elementary. Unfortunately, the soldiers parading him were at the fourth layer from which there was no hope for Qin to escape. He felt the world was very unfair to him. He should have a pleasant life, have superpowers and be surrounded by many women like the main character in general. After traveling quite a distance from the royal capital, suddenly the guards stopped the carriage and opened the cage door. It turned out that they were ordered to finish off Qin, who was trash in the kingdom. Without further ado, they immediately beat Qin mercilessly and even spat on him. And when Qin had reached his limit, the thing he had been waiting for had finally arrived. The cheat system that would change his life appeared for the first time. When the system is successfully activated, Qin gets a chance to get a god or a devil randomly, and without further ado, Qin accepts the system and hopes that his god helper will come soon. Seconds after seconds felt very long, until finally a nine-tailed fox demon came to help Qin, who was being choked and almost died. The soldier who saw the scene was immediately angry and prepared to kill them both. For your information, Daji is a nine-tailed god who has a fifth-layer immortal cultivation level. She also possesses the divine fox technique, with her seductive body and loyalty rate of 90%. The system told them that when their loyalty dropped to 0%, they would betray their master. When Qin finished reading the details, he was shocked in disbelief because Daji could finish off the soldiers with one strike, because their difference was quite far. With just aura, Daji was quickly able to defeat all of them. He then destroyed the iron chains that bound her master. And on the sidelines there was one of the soldiers who was still alive and tried to escape from the two of them. But Daji swiftly stopped him. Because Qin was so annoyed with them, he asked not to kill him because Qin would do it. Despite his cowardly actions, Qin was able to kill him with a single fist, and he panicked himself because it was his first time killing someone. But thanks to that, now he understands that the system he has is similar to the system in the game world, where he will get bonus XP when he successfully fulfills a mission or kills someone he hates. But he increasingly did not understand what the purpose of the system that chose him was. Hearing the question, the system then replied that for the time being, Qi was still not qualified to know that, and after reading the answer. After killing all the soldiers there, Qin managed to rise to the fourth layer of qi condensation to bring up a side mission, namely killing the fifth prince. The prize that will be given in this mission is 150,000 XP and one random draw. Plus, Qin received the main story mission, in which he had to rule the kingdom of Raymond in the next 5 years. The prize is 500,000 XP and one random draw. However, if the main story mission fails, his host status will be revoked and his life will end. Fortunately, Qin had Daji, which boosted his confidence for the mission. Even Qin began to dream of being able to summon super strong gods like Sun Wukong and even Neza, the Prince of Fire. After delusion, Qin remembered one random draw and asked the system to open it, and the prize he received was an infinity gun, which was an infinite gun that fired based on its owner's qi. Without hesitation, Qin immediately tried the gun, and the first trial shot managed to leave a deep hole, so Qin was satisfied with the weapon. Daji, who saw the magic weapon, seemed curious and asked the master, "Why is his spear so short?" Qin frantically explained the details of the weapon and clarified that the original weapon could extend. After that awkward moment, Daji then asked their purpose after this, and Qin ridiculously invited her to find a place to take a bath. On his way, Qin was amazed by Daji's appearance, which was very seductive. Even when Daji invited Qin to fly over the hill, Qin instead took the opportunity to touch her chest to make her heart beat faster and more perverted. Qin casually asked Daji to accompany him to bathe. The fox girl happily let it go. But before that scene happened, came from Princess Chang Xianxian and the great disciple to Qin, and shouted for them to run away, because at this time the two patriarchs, who were known to be lustful and like kidnapping girls, even the father of Qin's body owner, also had a grudge against General Xiao, and it is a golden opportunity to clear his name if he succeeds in killing Xiao. Hearing this warning, Qin arrogantly told the two of them to run first, because he was not afraid of Xiao. Seeing Qin haughty attitude, the two patriarchs were extremely annoyed. They even stopped and belittled Qin to the point that a kid like him would easily die in Xiao's hands. Annoyed at wasting time, they warned Qin and asked Xian to continue his escape. But unfortunately, Xiao had already intercepted them with his strong killing aura. They warned Qin and invite Xian to continue his flight. But unfortunately, Xiao had already intercepted them with his strong killing aura. They warned Qin and invite Xian to continue his flight. But unfortunately, Xiao had already intercepted them with his strong killing aura. It is known that this general is an XP field if Qin manages to kill him. In contrast to Qin, who is still thinking about his XP, Xian suddenly jumps towards Qin and Chang faints from fright. But on the other hand, Xiao is fascinated by seeing Daji, who is so sexy that he wants to have her. Daji, who responds to Xiao's lecherous gaze, feels irritated and prepares to kill him. But this time, Qin stopped Daji, because he wanted to kill him with his own hands. But Daji, with her initiative, immediately lunged at Xiao to make him thrown far away, feeling unaccepted by the sudden attack launched by the woman. Xiao immediately countered the attack, but his sword swing was successfully blocked by Daji with just her 2 fingers. Even the fox lady easily knocked Xiao down. With just a little bit of strength, Xian and Changha, who saw the fight, couldn't help but marvel at Daji's might. And this time it was Qin turn to counterattack. But before that, Qin thanked Xiao for coming, who was a goldfield for him. But Xiao won't die, so he does, and tries to attack Qin one last time. But unfortunately, Xiao must die first because the shot is faster than the attack. With a confident face, Qin successfully killed Xiao Hao and earned 10,000 XP points and broke into the 4th stage of Qi Foundation Realm. Plus he gets 1 raffle for free. After that battle, Xian began to acknowledge the strength of the man she had underestimated earlier. But the flattery meant nothing because Qin was still focused on his prize, which was on its way. Luckily, Qin also found a storage ring from Xiao's corpse, which Daji thought was very useful. Without being asked, Daji then offered a way to use the item and immediately bit her master's hand. After the ring was activated, Qin noticed that the items inside were 1 high-level palace guard outfit and 1 longsword. But for now, Qin didn't need it and kept it back into his dimension ring. After being busy with the treasure he got, now Xian whines, asking for protection from Qin for 1 night, for fear of Xiao Hao's troops coming to avenge their leader. This reason was also confirmed by Daji, who felt the presence of several soldiers around her. Until she asks if she clean up. But right now, Qin wanted to appear aggressive and unhesitatingly kill 1 by 1 the Xiao soldiers that were aiming at him. Thanks to this sacrifice, now Qin has successfully entered the 5th stage of Qi condensation. Xian, who saw the massacre, was silent curious. What kind of artifact did Qin have to be able to kill the Xiao soldiers so easily? After all the warriors were defeated, Qin asked the 2 patriarchs to leave. But Xian begs Qin to escort her all the way to the Xuanling sect for a fair fee. Although initially Qin was not tempted by the cuteness of her soft chest, he suddenly changes his mind because a side mission appears which is according to Xian's request. Hearing that, the cute girl immediately hugged Qin and expressed her gratitude. After that, Qin felt curious about the side mission that could appear this easy. After asking that question, the system answered that the side mission will appear because the other person's desire for the host's help is very strong or bloodthirsty. Once the mission is completed, inheritance mode will be activated, where the host can have skills covering all kinds of martial arts and magic. Even the host can randomly choose the skills of the gods and demons to get his inheritance. Amidst the thought of the benefits, Daji then asked if they would rest here tonight. Hearing this, Qin also agreed to the suggestion, but before that he wanted to continue his bath first. After that, Xian felt amazed by Qin's appearance, which was different from before, where Qin looked very handsome and dignified. Even the girl begged Qin to sleep beside her tonight, because it is not good to refuse a hot woman's request. Qin also agreed to the request. The next morning they immediately continued their journey, and by this time they had arrived at a forest full of demonic beasts. According to Daji, demonic beasts are divided into 10 levels, and each has 9 stages. The first is chi condensation, secondly foundation formation, thirdly golden core, and fourthly nascent soul, and lastly the 5th ascension immortal. Each stage corresponds to a human's cultivation level, but once a demonic beast reaches 5th tier, the beast can change their appearance. Even in sects, the last level of immortal or immortal ascension is highly confidential information, and only certain disciples on a condition can know about it. Princess is no exception. After discussing the information, seen in the distance, there are several people who are running screaming because of the pursuit of a bunch of monsters. Daji swiftly took his master and Xianxian to fly and left Changha to run alone. Luckily, the summons that Qinjun had summoned yesterday night had come, and the summon was a heavenly dog. The dog has the final stage, lastly applied the 9th stage, and has the skill that can swallow the sun. Even loyalty starts from 100%. Seeing his new recruits arrive, Qinjun asked the Daji to put him down, and entrusted the bunch of monsters to the heavenly hounds. But for the first time, Daji, who saw the dog, was afraid, and warned his master that the dog was very dangerous. On the other hand, several people earlier screamed loudly while running to warn comrades. But instead, Qinjun patted his new recruit on the head and ordered him to stop the horde of monsters. Then the celestial dog immediately howled. To stop the monsters, then spoke telepathically. I, Demon King Celestial Hound, will join forces with Qinjun, who is my new master. The horde of monsters immediately bowed down, as if they understood the order. Even the group of people who were running also knew about the hound being a demon lord. So they were very curious how the Demon King could be subdued by a child. After that incident, Daji was curious why his master could know that the dog was his friend. Qinjun still kept his system a secret, and even diverted the conversation to continue on their way. 5 days later, they finally arrived at Green Altar City, which was the closest city before Shuangling sect. Then they decided to separate, and the women would find lodging for them to rest. In the middle of his journey, Qinjun collided with a girl who was running with her boyfriend, and the girl looked very cute. After colliding with Qinjun, the girl stopped because she felt Qinjun's powerful aura like that of a great cultivator. But the group of people teaching the girl focused more on the clothes worn by Qinjun, which were the clothes of the Imperial Guards. Even the strange man even suspected. Had the deeds of the Cheng family been discovered by the Empire to send the guards to come to the Green Altar? Not wanting to have a bad feeling, first the strange man immediately greeted Qinjun. Respectfully bowed to apologize for his impoliteness. Plus, as a token of his apology, that strange man would invite Qinjun to a banquet dinner, so he could monitor him before reporting him to his father. Suddenly the system responded that Chen, who is the boyfriend of the girl who bumped into Qinjun, has a rare talent that can rule the world with integrity. Even his talent is able to fight against evil spirits. Qinjun immediately turned his head towards Suli, who was a goldfield for him. Thanks to Qinjun's help, Suli also expressed her gratitude for helping stop the previous freak, and she promised to repay the favor in the future. Hearing this, Qinjun immediately expressed his intention by inviting Suli to become his personal staff. Hearing this invitation made Suli speechless and shocked, especially when you hear the seduction of a big prize. Hearing the invitation made Suli speechless and shocked, especially when you hear the seduction of a big prize. Hearing the invitation made Suli speechless and shocked, especially when you hear the seduction of a big prize. On the other hand, in the Cheng family, it looked like their leader was in a rage when he heard the news that Imperial Guards were coming to the Green Altar City. Even he was very annoyed with the previous freak who was his child. The outrage was based on the fact that his son was tricked, because the Imperial Guards were not allowed to leave the royal capital. Hearing this information, Putra immediately apologized for his mistake, then asked who was the figure disguised as an Imperial Guard. Then he thought and guessed that if it was possible, it was the third Prince Qinjun, who was sent to the border for forced labor by the Imperial Guards. All those preconceived notions could prove to be true if he escaped from custody, and when the facts were real, the Cheng family would be well rewarded when bringing the third prince back to the empire. Thus the bearded grandfather immediately dispatched his son to catch Qinjun as best he could. The next morning the heavenly dog was seen asking Qinjun, Is Master really going to destroy the Tseng family? Hearing the conversation from afar, Xianxian was very curious and immediately approached him, but Qinjun said that this was none of his business. Hearing these words, the daughter of the Xiangling sect was annoyed and immediately attacked Qinjun. But his attack was successfully parried, and Qinjun's hands accidentally touched the two small hills belonging to Xianxian. Immediately the atmosphere became awkward between the two of them. Yet Qinjun posed as if nothing had happened. Fortunately, the situation immediately changed because of the presence of Daji, who had just woken up from his sleep. But suddenly Daji immediately warned his master to be careful, because the mysterious man who passed by him had very strong demon qi. Even Qinjun himself rarely encountered cultivators with devil blood in the kingdom. Plus, her cultivation level was so high that Qinjun couldn't care less about her cultivation. Soon they were shocked by the appearance of Chengzi, who was a strange man before. In fact, all the visitors there felt that it was bad luck to have anything to do with the Cheng family. But not for Qinjun. Just like before when he first saw Daji and Xianxian, he immediately failed to focus and wanted to have them. Without saying much, Chengzi immediately sent his men to arrest Qinjun. But Daji angrily throws them all away, being unqualified to fight his master. After being treated so harshly, the eldest son of the Cheng family felt humiliated and angry. Destroyed the Cheng family. This mission was the one that Qinjun had been waiting for, and without hesitation, he immediately shot Cheng, who was cursing in front of him. On the other hand, seeing the yellow artifact used by Qinjun made a mysterious figure with a demonic aura want to seize it. After that incident, Qinjun ordered his members to take care of Cheng's corpse and immediately rushed to destroy Cheng's family at this moment. Even though Changha had warned him not to make trouble with the Cheng family, Qinjun didn't hear of this and still went over to Cheng. Qinjun's decision grew even more when he saw that Cheng's family life looked prosperous, because it was obtained from the spoils of the weak people in the city. But before they entered the Chang residence, several soldiers prevented them from crossing the boundaries of the Chang residence. Hearing this chatter, Qinjun asked Daji to throw Chengji's corpse away, so the guards immediately reported it. Seen in front of the gate of Cheng's residence, there was Chengji's uncle, who saw the condition of his nephew who had died miserably, and these uncles with burning fire in their hands immediately jumped towards Qinjun, and a strong energy clash occurred between them. Plus, Elder Cheng was able to land powerful kicks and consecutive attacks that were able to temporarily corner Qinjun. But when the uncles were about to finish off Qinjun with his strongest attack, Qinjun quickly shot the garden until the eldest of the Cheng family was defeated. In the realm of Foundation formation, Sol Daji, who saw his master's battle, was worried and immediately asked how he was doing. Fortunately, Qinjun only suffered minor injuries. However, he gained valuable experience that he still had to learn more about fighting techniques in order not to depend on his artifacts. The Cheng soldiers who saw their master had fallen did not dare to fight Qinjun and chose to run away from him. On the other side of the city lord's mansion, City Lord Chen was shocked when he heard the news that someone was out to destroy the Cheng family. It seems that the leader is the father of Chen Suli. After that, Suli then asked her father to gather information about crimes committed by the Cheng family in order to help the third prince, Qinjun the Savior. On the other hand, hearing reports that an intruder had managed to defeat the chairman and his son, he was so angry that he immediately shot towards Qinjun. At the same time, Qinjun happily slaughtered Cheng's army and accumulated a lot of XP points. It didn't take long for Cheng to come before Qinjun with his powerful killing aura without even a word of greeting. The old man immediately lunged at Qinjun recklessly, until he himself was blown away thanks to a surprise attack from Daji. Not only that, he also succeeded in injuring Cheng, which left his shoulder badly injured. Now Cheng Zhen understood how strong the foxwoman was. Even he wouldn't be able to beat him for now. But the geezer didn't lose his mind and started to look down on Qinjun, who was a level lower than him. Then Cheng Zhen immediately changed his target to kill Qinjun first. As long as the young man died, the Cheng family's grudge could be avenged. Immediately, Cheng Zhen distracted Daji with his shadow, and his real body instantly jumped above Qin's head with his ultimate fist. But unfortunately, Qin's shooting speed is still faster than the old geezer, until Cheng Zhen is successfully overthrown. Thanks to that, now Qinjun managed to gain enough XP to advance to the realm of Soul Foundation 5 layer after that fight. Daji immediately apologized to his master for being negligent, causing him to be fooled and almost injuring his master. But with a sweet smile, Qinjun gently stroked Daji's head and said that Daji doesn't need to worry so much, because sooner or later Qinjun will also have to be able to face danger alone. After the death of Cheng Zhen, Qinjun gave his remaining men a chance to escape, as he would burn down Cheng's entire residence. Some residents who have seen the destruction of the Cheng family are happy. Finally, they can now live quietly in the city. After Qin's side mission was completed, not long after the city lord arrived, and they bowed down to welcome the arrival of the third prince, while expressing his gratitude for cleaning up the parasite in the city. Xianxian and Changha, who just found out the information, were shocked that the person they were following was the third prince of the empire. Shortly after, Suli then read aloud the crimes of the Cheng family over the years, in which some of the victims' families were relieved at Cheng's downfall. After hearing all that, Qinjun felt happy because he could help exterminate the parasites in the city, but unfortunately, Qinjun had to continue their journey, and it was time for them to part ways. They then parted ways with cheers full of happiness sending him off. Now Qinjun is determined to become stronger, so he can finish off the hyenas that are bothering the kingdom now. Qinjun began to be ambitious to lead the kingdom towards peace and prosperity. 2 days later, Qinjun and company arrived at the sect, where it was truly beautiful, just like the cultivation world in a game. After arriving there, the side mission to escort Xianshen was automatically completed, so Qinjun got 5,000 XP points and a chance to get an inheritance. On the other hand, Qinjun had already broken through to the 6th level of Soul Foundation. He thought the mission of delivering 2 burdens from the Shuanglin sect was well worth the reward the system gave for it. Qinjun immediately intended to separate from them. However, Xianxian detains Qinjun and asks him to stay here all night. Moreover, Xianxian said that his father had already prepared a gift for him in gratitude. Hearing this, Qinjun couldn't refuse the fortune, especially according to Daji. Xianxian's offer was still better than sleeping in the forest. Feeling his position taken away by Qinjun felt annoyed and intended to get back at him when he entered the sect. On his way, Qinjun asked Xianxian to hide his real identity, including to his father. Hearing that, Xianxian then asked the truth and rumors about the third prince's abdication. Hearing this question, Qinjun confirmed the rumors. But Xianxian needn't worry about it, for he would deal with it as quickly as possible. Because as long as he still has Xiao's head, his father won't dare to belittle him, and this time Qinjun will definitely come back with his strongest version. After stepping into the sect, Xianxian immediately shouted of his return and asked for a room for his friends to stay here. Then the old man at the receptionist asked Qinjun's identity first, but Qinjun was reluctant to answer. Fortunately, Kanha also helped convey that the guests were Princess Xianxian's savior and her. After hearing that, the old man immediately ordered his employee Xiao to take them to his room. That night, Xianxian also parted ways with Qinjun and continued their meeting the next morning, not forgetting that Qinjun seduced Daji so he could sleep with her. But Daji refused the request because his master now has a new bedmate, namely Xian, the heavenly dog. Hearing this, the dog is so happy that he can't wait to sleep with his master. But what happened that night? They all slept separately. Inside his room, Qinjun then accessed his system and wanted to unlock his inheritance skill. Inheritance skills consist of 7 classes, including Ordinary Class, Spiritual Earth Heaven, Immortal Defense, and Holy. Each class consists of 3 parts. There are Inferior, Medium, and Superior. Without waiting for a long time, Qinjun immediately took the prize, and what Qinjun got was a skill from Martial. Suddenly, a golden light immediately shone on Qinjun, and a violent thunder instantly struck Qinjun's room. On the other hand, the Xianxian and the sect master simultaneously saw the thunder. Even the sect master guessed that one of his disciples could break through a golden core with such a large thunder turbulence. Even when they came out, a gust of powerful energy from the lightning was able to stop them. Xianxian and Kanha summoned everyone to activate the turbulence formation defense. After that incident, the entire sect held an impromptu meeting in which to find out which of its disciples had broken through to the Golden Core. But none among them had managed to enter the Golden Core realm. Then Changha guessed maybe the figure was Qinjun or his friends. Kang Tianyu immediately felt irritated, because to stop the catastrophe they had used up the spirit stones consumed to create a protective formation that was worth the entire sect's expenditure in a year. And if that guess was correct, Kang Tianyu felt at a loss, so he immediately asked them to summon Qin Jun at this time too, but his daughter immediately refused to comply with the order since they were currently resting. Xian also doesn't want to take the risk that even assassins like Xiao are easily defeated, including the Cheng family incident. So if the Xiangli sect has bad relations with them, the Xiangli sect's future is in danger. Immediately, Xian begged her father to calm down and continue this matter the next day, due to a request from her daughter. The next day, Xian immediately picked up Qinjun and asked him if he had broken through to the Golden Core, and explained last night's disaster in detail. Hearing that Qinjun felt confused because Qinjun did not break through to the Golden Core realm. But inside, Qinjun's heart seemed to wake up and asked himself, does receiving supernatural power also trigger a disaster? Daji, who understood that incident, could only smile happily from afar, because his master was able to master supernatural power inheritance at such a young age. Qinjun decided to meet his father and asked Xian to accompany him. After they entered the meeting room, one of his best students named Xiao looked cynical when he saw Qinjun for the first time. Hear her say, Qinjun immediately stopped and told Xiao that he was only a Soul Foundation realm cultivator. Then, matter-of-factly asked Qinjun, was he the one who caused the disaster last night which caused huge losses to the Xiangli sect? Before answering the question, Qinjun first bowed, which made Xian's worry about Qinjun's anger slightly lessened, but Qinjun immediately threw a tantrum. Saying, is this price worth your daughter's life? Qinjun said. Hearing this made Xian shocked. Even Kang Tianyu was speechless. After hearing the defense, Xian also persuaded his father not to prolong this matter, especially since Qinjun had protected him during the trip and even dared to kill. He couldn't believe it, because in the Xiangling sect only 3 seniors can keep up with the fight. Fighting is impossible too. A 6-Fate Soul Foundation realm brat was able to kill a Gold Core realm cultivator. Then Xian whispered to his father that Kadaji was an immortal level cultivator, which in order to kill Xiao had to be able to master it. When knowing this, the Tianyu felt tremble. Why can such a great cultivator pay a visit to the kingdom? At the same time, Daji, who was getting annoyed at the meeting, immediately released his aura and said, my master has already paid for his actions. If you guys still don't accept then... But before the sentence was finished, Qinjun quickly calmed down Daji and apologized for his temper. Not wanting to make matters worse for his sect, he quickly closed the meeting and forgot all the trouble at hand. But before Qinjun left and continued on his journey, Zhao challenged Qinjun under the guise of sparring. Soon a side mission appeared in which Qinjun was required to defeat the smartest student in the Xiangli sect. Without hesitation, Qinjun immediately accepted the challenge and asked if he was allowed to use magic weapons. Fortunately, Zhao agreed to these terms, and soon they headed for the blind or the fighting arena. There were already a lot of people who wanted to watch the match. No exception with people who are very curious about Qinjun and Daji. Before the sparring started, Xian warned Qinjun to be careful with Brother Zhou, who is the strongest disciple in his sect. Without waiting for long, they entered the arena, and Zhao asked Qinjun to show his magic weapon. Now Qinjun had to fight quickly and smartly to save his stamina. After the gong sounded, Zhao aggressively attacked Qinjun, and all Qinjun did was dodge the attack until the moment he could issue his newest skill, the instant art blooming skill, where there were hundreds of falling flowers capable of stopping his opponent, even draining everyone's energy and mentality. In the attack area. This skill is very useful against enemies who are stronger than him, because the farther the difference, the person will drain more energy. Now Xiao's fate is over, because he now looks exhausted, and it's time for Qinjun to end it. But Zhao didn't give up that fast. He was able to dodge several bullets that were aimed at him, but when Zhao wanted to counter Qinjun's attack, Jun immediately shot right at the material, paralyzing the movement from afar. Finally, the sparring was won by Jun, and the side mission was completed. After the sparring was over, Jun did not forget to praise Zhao, who was a fairly strong fighter. Jun then came down from the arena and approached Xian to say goodbye. Because the further the difference, the person will drain more energy. Now Xiao's fate is over, because he now looks exhausted, and it's time for Jun to end it. But Zhao didn't give up that fast. He was able to dodge several bullets that were aimed at him. But when Zhao wanted to counter Jun's attack, Jun immediately shot right at the material, paralyzing the movement from afar. Finally, the sparring was won by Jun, and the side mission was completed. After the sparring was over, Jun did not forget to praise Zhao, who was a fairly strong fighter. Jun then came down from the arena and approached Xian to say goodbye. Because the further the difference, the person will drain more energy. Now Xiao's fate is over, because he now looks exhausted, and it's time for Jun to end it. But Zhao didn't give up that fast. He was able to dodge several bullets that were aimed at him. But when Zhao wanted to counter Jun's attack, Jun immediately shot right at the material, paralyzing the movement from afar. Finally, the sparring was won by Jun, and the side mission was completed. After the sparring was over, Jun did not forget to praise Zhao, who was a fairly strong fighter. Jun then came down from the arena and approached Xian to say goodbye. But Zhao didn't give up that fast. He was able to dodge several bullets that were aimed at him. But when Zhao wanted to counter Jun's attack, Jun immediately shot right at the material, paralyzing the movement from afar. Finally, the sparring was won by Jun, and the side mission was completed. After the sparring was over, Jun did not forget to praise Zhao, who was a fairly strong fighter. Jun then came down from the arena and approached Xian to say goodbye. But Zhao didn't give up that fast. He was able to dodge several bullets that were aimed at him. But when Zhao wanted to counter Jun's attack, Jun immediately shot right at the material, paralyzing the movement from afar. Finally, the sparring was won by Jun, and the side mission was completed. After the sparring was over, Jun did not forget to praise Zhao, who was a fairly strong fighter. Jun then came down from the arena and approached Xian to say goodbye. Jun did not forget to praise Zhao, who is a fairly strong fighter. Jun then came down from the arena and approached Xian to say goodbye. Jun did not forget to praise Zhao, who is a fairly strong fighter. Jun then came down from the arena and approached Xian to say goodbye. However, one of the sect higher-ups tried to restrain him, but he gave orders to let them go. The higher-up was annoyed that he had injured his senior disciple, but according to him, Zhou's injuries were not serious. Even though the technique used by Jun was a high-ranked technique, his cultivation level was too low to use his full power. Zhao has also been winning all year, so this could be a good lesson for him. Before leaving the Shuangling sect accompanying Jun to say goodbye, the princess even tried to seduce him into coming with her. But Jun's request resolutely refused, so that Xian wouldn't get into too much trouble. Finally, they separated, and Jun continued on his way. 5 days later, Jun looked even more dashing in his white clothes and riding on the clouds. But the cloud only lasted a moment and made him fall. According to Daji, his master's cultivation base was still too low and needed extra practice. Shortly after Jun fell, the Celestial Hound detected a fight around here and Jun intended to check there. Already seen dozens of corpses of soldiers in blue clothes lying on the ground, and some of them were still defending against the combination of soldiers in red clothes, which all had high cultivation stages, comparable to royal bodyguards. That conflict occurred because the Yan family had offended its master, which was the 5th prince of the kingdom, for that bloodsword guard sent by their master to slaughter the entire family. Having eavesdropped on the conversation made Jun inevitably have to intervene in the conflict, because sooner or later he would also have to deal with Jun, the 5th prince. Just before the bloodsword warriors massacred the Yan family, Jun also appeared and killed one soldier there to change the mood. But that incident did not make the bloodsword warriors flinch. In fact, it triggered Jun to get a side mission, namely to destroy soldiers and get 2,000 XP points. Without further ado, Jun sadistically immediately killed them all, leaving only one team leader. But before Jun finished off the man, He still dared to threaten Qinjun, and even mentioned who their boss was, so that Qinjun would be scared. After saying at length, Qinjun immediately shot the man and completed his mission. After that, the family leader immediately saluted his savior and did not forget to ask his name. Upon knowing it, it dawned on him that the young man before him was the third prince who had abdicated the throne recently. With a charismatic smile, Qinjun confirmed the fact, and now he will come back and take what is rightfully his. Still in the same place, Qinjun suddenly recalled the incident that the emperor originally intended to secretly expel him to the border. But when he was escorted, everyone in the capital saw him. Even he humiliated him by telling everyone it was not his corruption. This act was none other than to overthrow Qinjun and target Nan Yuxin, the son of General Nong Neng, who has a marriage contract. Qinjun has a gentle and beautiful appearance. In fact, she is one of the most beautiful women in the Qian kingdom. As long as Qinjun could marry, the kingdom could belong to his return to the Yan family, who still paid their respects to Qinjun. Qinjun immediately said to act normal. Because he hasn't cleared his name yet, there's no need to be too respectful. Qinjun didn't forget to ask why the Yan family offended Qinjun. It is known that Qinjun wants the Yan family's business association, which is a well-known local association in the kingdom. That is, the business association's business association generally collects goods from family merchants and individuals to set up an auction venue to share profits. After hearing that story, Qinjun was even more curious about why they didn't pay bodyguards to protect him. Then said that when monks or soldiers heard that they had offended the fifth prince, automatically no one would dare to defend him. Now everyone in the cultivator world knows that Qinjun is even recognized as the next emperor. On the other side of the Yan family, only an old and weak man remained. For that, Qinjun plans to monitor it. Suddenly the system pops up and gives a side mission notification, which is to conquer a good business association with a prize of 4,000 XP points and one random lottery. After reading that, Qinjun immediately emphasized that the Yan family would not be able to survive in the kingdom if he refused help from him. Qinjun said that the fifth prince is his mortal enemy, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend, while promising when he was done clearing his name, he would support the Yan family with his integrity. Hearing those words, Yan Mobi looked touched while expressing his gratitude. On the other side of the fifth prince's palace, the leader of the Blood Swords arrived, who reported that they had killed half of the Yan family, but some managed to escape, including those who, and his wife, the soldiers they sent to look for Yan Mobi, also never returned. Hearing the report, Qinjun immediately asked which family was secretly helping them. Immediately the fifth prince had someone trace the whereabouts of the Mobi and temporarily rested the Blood Swords team until his next order. A few days later in the Qinghu royal capital, it was seen that Qinjun, Daji, and the others had entered the capital. Qinjun planned to appear at the right time and restore his princely status. Then the car conveyed important information, that 9 days from now an emissary from the kingdom would be visiting the capital, and that was the perfect moment to appear. It was known the kingdoms were allies on the outside, but they were still fighting tooth and nail with each other. Every 5 years they send their envoys to communicate, or it can be called a royal exchange. The agenda began with a duel between two masters, who adopted an alert system with both winning in 3 rounds, then discussing state affairs after the match. 5 years ago the kingdom sent someone, but they lost the duel. This duel was a good opportunity for him because he had Daji and Xiao's head. After thinking that over, Qinjun agreed to the car's suggestion and would take care of the Yan family's matters before he left. Then the Mobi offered to stay at one of the places that Qinjun probably wouldn't suspect because there were a lot of foreigners there. Even when they just entered the inn, Qinjun and company immediately became the center of attention, not to mention Daji, who almost got sexually assaulted if the old man was not punched by Qinjun. After entering his room, Qinjun was surprised by the gacha opportunity of once a month which could summon god or demon, and when Qinjun called him, it seemed that he found a member with a silhouette riding a horse. Not to mention Daji, who almost got sexually assaulted if the old man wasn't punched by Qinjun. After entering his room, Qinjun was surprised by the gacha opportunity of once a month, which could summon god or demon, and when Qinjun called him, it seemed that he found a member with a silhouette riding a horse. Not to mention Daji, who almost got sexually assaulted if the old man wasn't punched by Qinjun. After entering his room, Jun was surprised by the gacha opportunity of once a month, which could summon god or demon, and when Jun called him, it seemed that he found a member with a silhouette riding a horse. Inside the palace, the prince has received a report that the car is staying overnight. But Kinyu couldn't do anything because, according to his father's orders, don't even have anything to do with that place. Finally, the prince let them in there for a while, and told the soldier to wait until they came out before killing him. The most important thing now is Jun has to think about the duel between the two countries for the next 9 days, because he was asked by his father to be the team leader. If his performance is good, his reputation will also rise, and vice versa. The next day, Jun was seen waiting for the figure he summoned, even thinking the silhouette in the distance was his new member. But when the silhouette got closer, it was Jin Yu. When he saw the fifth prince coming, Jun panicked and hid behind Daji beforehand, because it wasn't time for him to show his face yet. Fifth prince's purpose in coming to visit was none other than to find out the innkeeper's whereabouts of the car. Even when the owner chose not to share the visitor's information, the leader of the Bloodswords immediately released his murderous aura, causing all the visitors there to prepare for battle. Then firmly the owner asked, "If you want to make trouble at my inn," said the owner of the place. Jun immediately laughed and apologized for his joke. Seeing the incident, all visitors to the inn immediately tested it, even from the Holinami sect. The girl was embarrassed that she had brought him to practice just because of his princely status. Then everyone was shocked by the presence of Guan Yu's figure. For some reason the knight came and shouted loudly. Asked where his master was, the demon god that Jun managed to summon was the second master Guan of the human race. He was a warrior of the 9th stage of the void transformation level with a loyalty rate of 80%. After seeing Guan Yu's figure, Jun was immediately captivated and thought if he could recruit him, the royal duel would definitely be won by him. But when he tried to say hello to Guan Yu, the summoner had Jun reply with a sneer, and finally, Jun came home empty-handed. For now, even Saint of Nangming could only watch in the distance and wait for his next destination. Of the great night, then Guan Yu walked slowly towards Jun and immediately knelt down apologizing for the delay. Suddenly everyone did not expect. How could such a strong person submit to being held by a young child? Jun, who received that behavior, could only grin happily. On the other hand, Yu Fenghua was stunned when he saw that Jun's cultivation had already reached the 6th foundation formation stage at such a young age. After saluting Jun immediately made Guan Yu stand up and then introduced Daji and Xianxian. Not forgetting that Jun asked the maids to bring the best food to welcome his new family, even the innkeeper greeted Jun directly at the table because he was honored to have such a strong warrior. There were some visitors also greeted and introduced Jun. Jun, who received that behavior, could only grin happily. On the other hand, Yu Fenghua was stunned when he saw that Jun's cultivation had already reached the 6th foundation formation stage at such a young age. After saluting Jun immediately made Guan Yu stand up and then introduced Daji and Xianxian. Not forgetting that Jun asked the maids to bring the best food to welcome his new family, even the innkeeper greeted Jun directly at the table because he was honored to have such a strong warrior. There were some visitors also greeted and introduced Jun. Jun, who received that behavior, could only grin happily. On the other hand, Yu Fenghua was stunned when he saw that Jun's cultivation had already reached the 6th foundation formation stage at such a young age. After saluting Jun immediately made Guan Yu stand up and then introduced Daji and Xianxian. Not forgetting that Jun asked the maids to bring the best food to welcome his new family, even the innkeeper greeted Jun directly at the table, because he was honored to have such a strong warrior. There were some visitors also greeted and introduced Jun. After saluting Jun immediately made Guan Yu stand up and then introduced Daji and Xianxian. Not forgetting that Jun asked the maids to bring the best food to welcome his new family, even the innkeeper greeted Jun directly at the table because he was honored to have such a strong warrior. There were some visitors also greeted and introduced Jun. After saluting Jun immediately made Guan Yu stand up and then introduced Daji and Xianxian. Not forgetting that Jun asked the maids to bring the best food to welcome his new family, Even the innkeeper greeted Qin directly at the table because he was honored to have such a strong warrior. There were some visitors also greeted and introduced Qin. On the other hand, Yu Fenghua, who has been observing Qin, has been attracted to him and wants to invite Qin to join the Nangming sect. That moment of the day instantly spread throughout the capital and became a trending topic among cultivators, with the young cultivators' rumors. The news made Qin curious and asked his people to investigate. But they didn't get any significant information, and only a strange picture of Master Jun's figure. The next morning, for some reason, a woman named Nam suddenly made a fuss, just because she was curious about Master Jun's figure. Hearing the commotion, Qin immediately got up and looked down to see who was looking for him. When Qin knew that Nan was coming, Qin immediately fell into deep thought, because the original owner of this body used to be the punching bag of Nan. The reason is none other than the girl is not satisfied with her marriage contract. Now Qin has to hide his identity so as not to be found out. Fortunately, Daji woke up from his sleep, which is the biggest object of racing for now. After waiting for a long time, Qin finally approached Nan with a veil covering her face. Then Qin asked what was the reason he was looking for her. Nan immediately conveyed her destination where she wanted to duel, and without warning, Nan immediately lunged at Qin with her aura palm. But the attack was too slow that Qin was able to dodge it without moving from his spot. Not wanting to give up so easily this time, Nan attacked Qin with his fist, and the girl's fist was held unscathed. The situation immediately reversed, where Qin immediately locked Nan's hand, which made him unable to move. Qin immediately released Nan after he gave up. It turned out that the girl was just curious about how strong Master Jun was. After that, Qin told Nan to leave the inn while ignoring his ramblings. The response he showed earned praise from the Mobi when his master calmly faced Nan's provocation. Back to the room where Qin finally could breathe a sigh of relief after escaping from Nan, but Daji, with a cute face, asked his master to return the clothes he was wearing. Soon Qin was kicked out of his room after failing to seduce Daji. And Tian, the heavenly dog, asked his master, "Is master a fan of female breasts?" said the dog. Qin gallantly answered, "Of course." Time was finally running fast and it was already night. Before going to sleep, Qin received a notification that the side mission is mastering the business association and getting 4,000 XP points and getting a raffle prize. It seems that after the Mobi saw Qin attitude this morning, he finally truly surrendered his fate to the system. Then raffle the prizes that Qin will get, and luckily this time, he gets the Dragon Soul Silver Spear, which is a weapon from the Sea Dragon Palace in eastern China. After knowing the gift, Qin felt happy, but when he wanted to pick it up and hold it, the weapon was so heavy that it dropped him in the downstairs room right when Yu Fenghua was taking a bath. What a great day. Soon the situation became awkward, and Qin immediately apologized for what he did, then immediately wanted to go and stop him, to the point that Qin's mind became even more perverted. But the new Fenghua's aim was different from Qin's thoughts. He stopped him, but he wanted to invite Qin to join the holy sect with Qin's current talent and the training of the 12 elders with the void transformation rail in the sect. Qin will surpass all the cultivators in the kingdom in the future. With a smile on his face, Qin then refuses the invitation on the grounds that he is already tied to another sect. But the real reason Qin just wanted to be free and felt stupid if he had to join a sect was because he had an extremely powerful myth system. Hearing this rejection made him wonder which sect had recruited such a powerful cultivator. Even Fenghua wanted to send people to specially investigate it. Regardless, Fenghua appreciated Qin's answer, but the girl wished that they could still be friends and forget about tonight's incident. Without thinking, Qin agreed, and immediately said goodbye by jumping onto the roof. But from above, Qin was greeted by Xian with a red face and spoke, "Master, did you see that clearly? Now there are two perverts, Qin and the dog." Upon seeing Xian's response, Qin immediately hit the dog and asked him to immediately call someone to fix the floor. Inside, Qin's mind was thinking about suspending his training with the dragon spear and waiting for his identity to recover first. The next day, the Mobi immediately reported the latest rumor to Qin. that the envoy from the kingdom had arrived. They sent 3 mortal-level warriors, and if the news is true, then the kingdom is sure to lose. Hearing that made Qin think hard, because the kingdom only had 1 mortal warrior, and it seemed that Qin had to put Daji and his friends to win the competition. At the same time, they saw the 5th prince walking towards him, and immediately Qin asked Daji to lend him his breastplate. Qin purpose in visiting once again was to ask Guan Yue to participate in the duel between the 2 countries, representing the kingdom. But Qin, who was disguised as Master Jun, refused the request blatantly. Hearing the answer, he then pleaded with frills for the sake of the kingdom. Qin doubted the statement and asked, "Is it for the sake of the kingdom or for yourself?" Jun's words made Qin Yu's soldiers angry and snapped at him, but he ends up being thrown out of the inn. Qin doubted the statement and asked, "Is it for the sake of the kingdom or for yourself?" Jun's words made Qin Yu's soldiers angry and snapped at him, but he ends up being thrown out of the inn. Qin doubted the statement and asked, "Is it for the sake of the kingdom or for yourself?" Jun's words made Qin Yu's soldiers angry and snapped at him, but he ends up being thrown out of the inn. After that, the atmosphere became tense. Where are the soldiers preparing to attack Qin? However, Daji and Ko also went into combat mode. Even Guan Yue immediately threw out the great energy and made Qin Yui's people fall to their knees. Luckily, Qin immediately calmed down his friends and asked them to continue having breakfast together. While listening to the 5th prince's chatter, because Guan Yue couldn't stand their chatter, he immediately ordered Qin people to get out of his sight before 5 seconds. And yes, they immediately got scared and left. Seeing them from afar thought more and more of just how powerful the people behind young Master Jun were. When the time for the duel between the 2 monk nations approached, young monks and cultivators from various sects came, including the Xiangli sect. The event looked very lively, but Qin looked lethargic and tired from waking up late. Not long after that, the emperor arrived, and the gong of the beginning of the match between the 2 countries began. After the gong sounded, the first game went fast enough where the participants from the kingdom managed to win the first game. Then in the second round, the participant sent by the kingdom was Zhenhun, against one of the strongest warriors in the kingdom, namely Nan. After seeing the first match, Qin came to understand that the Cackling Empire had already grown tremendously in terms of combat power, which was bad news for Qian Yue. In the second match, this time, who managed to counterbalance the soldiers sent by the kingdom of Cackling, even Nang Ming was able to land an attack and corner Zhenhun. But the words that made him attack him without any strategy. In the end, Zhen managed to take advantage of this situation by landing a cunning attack that made half of the arena covered in a great explosion of smoke. Immediately, all the citizens of the Qian Yue kingdom were shocked beyond belief, so they suspected that Nan Meng had been defeated. But a quick shot immediately led from the back of Zhen's head, and the Cackling envoy soldier was defeated with his head down on the floor. Nang Meng won the second match, which was accompanied by cheers from the Qian Yue residents. Even the emperor and the Cackling royal envoys praised the competition. Then the referee prepared for the third duel and ordered the representatives of the participants to go up to the arena. Now the best soldiers from the kingdom started to intervene. Even that man arrogantly radiated his cultivation aura to the point where Qian Yue's side was terrified, because the only soldier who can match the cultivation of a trendy person, and he is already injured. Suddenly a distant voice was heard that interrupted Xiao's arrogant remarks. Hearing these words, he immediately asked who they were, and the right to their qualifications in this match. Finally, Qin showed himself to everyone there, and shocked the entire Qian Yue kingdom that the third prince had returned. Qin, who only saw his brother being here, couldn't help being shocked. Even all the residents there immediately started talking about the rumor that Qin had stepped down. Qin then asked his father to allow him to join the fight, because Qian Yue's side had no participants who dared to fight Xiao, and of course the emperor allowed it. Then Qin provoked Xiao to risk his life in the match this time. Conditions: if he managed to defeat Guan Yue, Qin will execute himself in public. Hearing that requirement, Xiao looked very excited, because if he could kill one of the royal princes, this match will not be in vain as Xiao expends his energy even before the match starts. This action even made the residents start to panic and mutter, "Can the prince escape his death?" Today did not forget to regret his encounter with Qinjun, in which he preferred a more severe way of death than the previous disaster. But when Quan Yue opened his robe, the man who was first surprised was Jin Yu. Immediately he reported to the emperor that the person he recommended at that time was Guan, the warrior who was under young Master Jun. Even now Qinjun realized why he was humiliated when he was in Lao. Hearing that requirement, Xiao looked very excited, because if he could kill one of the royal princes, this match will not be in vain as Xiao expends his energy even before the match starts. This action even made the residents start to panic and mutter, "Can the prince escape his death?" Today did not forget to regret his encounter with Qinjun, in which he preferred a more severe way of death than the previous disaster. But when Quan Yue opened his robe, the man who was first surprised was Jin Yu. Immediately he reported to the emperor that the person he recommended at that time was Guan, the warrior who was under young Master Jun. Even now Qinjun realized why he was humiliated when he was in Lao. Hearing that requirement, Zhao looked very excited, because if he could kill one of the royal princes, this match will not be in vain as Xiao expends his energy even before the match starts. This action even made the residents start to panic and mutter, "Can the prince escape his death?" Today did not forget to regret his encounter with Qinjun, in which he preferred a more severe way of death than the previous disaster. But when Quan Yue opened his robe, the man who was first surprised was Jin Yu. Immediately he reported to the emperor that the person he recommended at that time was Guan, the warrior who was under young Master Jun. Even now Qinjun realized why he was humiliated when he was in Lao. For if he could kill one of the princes of the kingdom, this match will not be in vain as Xiao expends his energy even before the match starts. This action even made the residents start to panic and mutter, "Can the prince escape his death?" Today did not forget to regret his encounter with Qinjun, in which he preferred a more severe way of death than the previous disaster. But when Quan Yue opened his robe, the man who was first surprised was Jin Yu. Immediately he reported to the emperor that the person he recommended at that time was Guan, the warrior who was under young Master Jun. Even now Qinjun realized why he was humiliated when he was in Lao. For if he could kill one of the princes of the kingdom, this match will not be in vain as Xiao expends his energy even before the match starts. This action even made the residents start to panic and mutter, "Can the prince escape his death?" Today did not forget to regret his encounter with Qinjun, in which he preferred a more severe way of death than the previous disaster. But when Quan Yue opened his robe, the man who was first surprised was Jin Yu. Immediately he reported to the emperor that the person he recommended at that time was Guan, the warrior who was under young Master Jun. Even now Qinjun realized why he was humiliated when he was in Lao. This action even made the residents start to panic and mutter, "Can the prince escape his death?" Today did not forget to regret his encounter with Qinjun, in which he preferred a more severe way of death than the previous disaster. But when Quan Yue opened his robe, the man who was first surprised was Jin Yu. Immediately he reported to the emperor that the person he recommended at that time was Guan, the warrior who was under young Master Jun. Even now Qinjun realized why he was humiliated when he was in Lao. This action even made the residents start to panic and mutter, "Can the prince escape his death?" Today did not forget to regret his encounter with Qinjun, in which he preferred a more severe way of death than the previous disaster. But when Quan Yue opened his robe, the man who was first surprised was Jin Yu. Immediately he reported to the emperor that the person he recommended at that time was Guan, the warrior who was under young Master Jun. Even now Qinjun realized why he was humiliated when he was in Lao. Immediately he reported to the emperor that the person he recommended was Guan, the warrior who was under young Master Jun. Even now Qinjun realized why he was humiliated when he was in Lao. Immediately he reported to the emperor that the person he recommended was Guan, the warrior who was under young Master Jun. Even now Qinjun realized why he was humiliated when he was in Lao. But a different response was shown by the emperor. He just laughed out loud at the commotion caused by his third child. But he was sure that the match this time would be won by Qinjun. Back to the arena where now Xiao and Guan Yue are facing each other. It only took one sentence from Guan Yue's words that said, "I only need one move to take it," Guan Yue said, making him laugh and advancing with great anger, thus making his attacks read easily and ending the match with Xiao's slash. Quickly, everyone there was shocked to see the match, including the emperor and prince of the kingdom. Even Nan Min, who was Xiao's equal, did not expect that his rival had been killed in a split second. Now it seems that Wan Yue is smiling at the announcement that the match between the two kingdoms was won by the kingdom of Qianyue. Even though he had stepped down from Tata and was slandered by an enemy he didn't want to mention, but now he returned with honor, showing off the head of the Xiao warrior. Instantly everyone fell silent because Xiao was a Class 1 criminal in the Qianyue kingdom. Even Nan Meng found it hard to hold it in. After that, Qin Jun asked his father, "Will his current achievements clear up his injustice?" In response to the words from his son, the emperor also declared that Prince Wen Qin Jun had corrected his mistake and restored his status as a prince in the kingdom of Qianyue. Hearing this, Qin Jun immediately thanked his father's kindness, and finally the emperor ended the match between the two countries and asked representatives from the kingdom to prepare for the next meeting, not forgetting that the emperor asked Qin Jun to return to the palace with his subordinates and get the right to attend the next event between the two. The country's speech triggers a side mission in which Qin Jun is required to carry out a meeting between the two countries properly until he gets appreciation from Emperor Po. The emperor's place in Qian Zen Hall, where Qin Jun looked happy while greeting his younger brother, the fifth prince. Even Qin Jun hugged him with bad intentions, not forgetting that Qin Jun also showed off his cultivation level, which was higher than he was at this time. In closing, Qin Jun then said that he had not seen each other for a month. "And you are still stupid, my brother," he said. This meeting discussed the alliance between the two countries. The first thing that will be discussed is the ownership of the city. The city has belonged to the Qianyue kingdom since the Taizu era, and of course it is still his. But the sentence was denied by the prince, where the city is a city based on an agreement between the two countries. If the kingdom later fails to protect it, it will cause chaos in the country too. Then Qin Jun said that the city must be guarded by a strong party, and one of the generals of the Cackling Kingdom has died world. Then Qin Jun asked if they were still able to protect the place. Soon Zhen Jun offered to look after him, but hesitated when Guan Yue saw him. Then Emperor Qianyue said that candidate Guan Yu was the right candidate to guard the city. Hearing the order, Guan Yue gladly accepted the decision, and if any of them were dissatisfied with their performance, they could come at any time and face his sword, which was also unforgiving. Instantly, the prince was silent and agreed to the proposal. Next they discussed resources and trade between the two countries, which was the end of the meeting before the royal representative left. Prince Cackling paid his respects to Emperor Qianyue and praised Qin Jun's unexpectedly splendid performance, exceeding his expectations of fifth prince's performance. Hearing this, Qin Jun also arrogantly agreed that it was only because of a reason. Of course the older brother is better than his younger sibling. But unexpectedly, Qin Jun asked the decision of the Cackling Empire to choose Prince perfunctorily. Hearing that sentence made him shocked, and even fainted, and obviously the prince of the Cackling Kingdom was angry. But Zhen Chun reassured his master even though Qin Jun's speech was smooth. "But he can decide based on ambiguous laws and is able to attack us." According to Zen, Prince Qin Jun cleverly forced into a life-and-death match, then publicly beheaded him. That was a simple, lethal strategy. After hearing that, Prince Cackling was speechless and could not do anything while looking at the future Emperor Qianyue, who was very terrible. Thanks to the cynical views of the Cackling prince known as Zhu, Qin Jun can trigger a side mission where the mission is to take control as emperor before ascending to the throne and before he dies. It was unmitigated that the mission was rewarded with 100,015 points and one lottery draw. Even Qin Jun himself did not expect how much Prince Cackling hated him to trigger such a big mission. Then Emperor Qianyue ordered the representatives of Cackling to return to his kingdom. On the other hand, in Qinyu Palace, the stupid prince suddenly realized and immediately scolded his private army, which let Qin Jun still breathe immediately. Kim Hyun sent a drag and several assassins to kill Qin Jun at once, but it was different from the leader of Bloodsword, who suggested to Inu. Not act recklessly this time, since the third prince had just reached such high feats. So it wasn't good to fight him now. Wanting to take care of the third prince, he suggested waiting for Guan Yue to be stationed in Yuguan City first. In another month to be held in the dynasty, rumor has it that those ranked 100 and above will get special privileges. After hearing his advice, Qin agreed to the suggestion and told the man with the scar on his eye to leave. Now thinking if he could destroy Jun's reputation back then he can do it too. One more time. Back to Qin, who seemed to be being chased by dozens of women until he was overwhelmed by his popularity now. But even though she is popular, her favorite is still Aunt Daji. Then Qin took Daji's hand and led him to go to where the great treasure he had found. It turned out that Qin took spurs to see his dragon spear weapon, which according to Daji, this weapon was a high-level weapon, and not just any spear. Qin's goal of inviting Daji was none other than to ask for help from him, to help him if anything happened. When Qin lifted the spear, it was found that the pole weighed 5,000 kilograms, and he had to quickly pick it up and swing it briefly. Unexpectedly, Qin managed to lift it, but could not swing the spear, and was carried away by the heavy weight of his weapon. Daji over there couldn't help but smile and ask his master to practice breathing first, and then improve his physical strength. In the middle of the joke, suddenly an attack shot towards Qin, and Daji swiftly parried it. The attack came from an assassin sent by Qin, who blatantly wanted to fight the third prince. Not afraid of that figure, Qin bullied him to come forward instead. In the middle of the joke, suddenly an attack shot towards Qin, and Daji swiftly parried it. The attack came from an assassin sent by Qin, who blatantly wanted to fight the third prince. Not afraid of that figure, Qin bullied him to come forward instead. In the middle of the joke, suddenly an attack shot towards Qin, and Daji swiftly parried it. The attack came from an assassin sent by Qin, who blatantly wanted to fight the third prince. Not afraid of that figure, Qin bullied him to come forward instead. The assassin immediately shot towards Qin without thinking. Daji, who saw that, immediately made a barrier for his master. But Qin stopped him because Qin wanted to fight him alone. With a powerful shout, Qin, swinging his spear in the air, thus disrupted his enemy's prediction of the number of openings in his attack. But after his enemy fell into the trap, Qin immediately released his weapon, and the assassin fell under his spear. What a ridiculous victory! After that, Qin stomped on his enemy's head and asked who had sent him, for no answer was forthcoming without compassion to take care of the rest of the corpse. After the distraction, Qin continued his practice and was doing quite well with much progress. But unfortunately again, Qin got distracted, which this time from a woman who suddenly lunged at Qin while screaming. "You are a womanizer! I will kill you now!" said the girl. Fortunately, the attack managed to easily avoid Qin. It turned out that the woman was a friend of Yu Fenghua, who was angry about Qin's actions in the bathroom at that time, even to help stop his friend's anger directly in front of Kim Hyun like a shield. But because of that incident, the thing that Qin was more afraid of was the jealousy of the Daji that felt behind them. Immediately Qin told in detail what happened at that time. Even Qin swore he had not seen anything strange. Now Qin is shunned by 3 women who think that Qin is a scumbag and a womanizer. For the commotion his friend caused, Yu Fenghua apologized to Qin and excused himself in front of him. But when Feng Tu approached, the girl whispered, "Logically, you are the first person to break into my room, and actually I want to kill you." But it was just a sarcastic joke on his part. He then asked if Qin would be attending the long material art meeting next month. After this question, Qin could only answer with hesitation because if he wanted to, he would definitely go there. Hearing that, Sel Fenghua replied to Qin's ambiguous answer by saying, "If I don't see you at that meeting, then I will kill you to the end of the world," he said. It seems that the girl already has a sense of admiration and longing for Qin to be able to trigger a side mission, namely being the best at the Nanzhou Qian Long Material Art meeting and being entitled to 200,000 XP points and 1 gacha hero opportunity. But if this mission failed, Qin would become a fugitive by the entire sect. After reading the mission, Qin immediately resumed his training. But after a night of practicing, a tired face appeared on the Qin, who was unable to continue his practice. Soon the manager came to see Qin, and said that he was ordered by the emperor to bring the third prince to move into the palace because as the king of Yue, it is not ethical to stay long in the hotel. Hearing that flattered him, and asked him to take his time to pack his things and call his friends. Soon Qinjun's entourage went together to the palace and met the emperor in person. But after they saluted suddenly, a sword flew towards Qinjun, making Qinjun ask, "What is the meaning of all this?" After seeing the ability of his third son, King Qianyue immediately asked Seng to show himself and his personal aid, to immediately apologize for his impudence to Qinjun. Apparently it was a test to prove his son's strength, because Qinjun would be assigned to organize Qian's event. It was an event where the capital would hold occasional banquets and invite talented cultivators from various countries. Luckily this year the event was held in Qianyue Kingdom, along with the duel between the two countries. Hearing the details of the event made Qinjun excited to trigger as many side missions as possible. His father now has high hopes for Qinjun to achieve more at the event than his predecessor, who was only a spectator. As an added reward for his performance in the duel between the two countries, Qinjun got 100 royal guards to serve him. Hearing the gift made Qinjun remember that the Imperial Guard Corps was handled directly under Qinjun's supervision, so it was a perfect moment to stir up trouble there. After receiving praise from his father, the system then informed that Qinjun had completed the negotiating side mission between the two countries and was entitled to earn 5,000 XP points up to leveling up to Stage 7 from establishing the basic foundation. Shortly after that, Qinjun also triggered a return mission where he had to surprise all the geniuses at the Qianyue talent event with a prize of 3,000 XT points and one exciting mission draw. The emperor couldn't help but stare at his son's cultivation speed, which was so frightening that the thought of Qinjun being able to put the Qianyue Empire back into existence sounded in the Nanzhuxiang long material art. However, Qinjun's reverie soon diverted from Emperor Qinjun's astonishment. Why was his father looking at him seriously? Hearing this, his father immediately forgot about this dream and would discuss it later. Now Qinjun had to focus on the talent event, which would be held in a week. For now, the emperor will have Sen escort Qinjun select 100 bodyguards, and after that the emperor will prepare to escort Guanyue to the city. After hearing all his father's orders, Qinjun happily left while acting silly. But no matter how his son behaves, he is still the next best candidate for crown prince. In the kingdom where they were warmly welcomed by the guards there, after conveying their destination, they were escorted directly to the unit. This unit is a special army unit that acts as a bodyguard and royal spy. When Qinjun stepped inside, he was shocked by the extraordinary atmosphere of the soldiers' training. But not long after that, Qinjun came over and matter-of-factly asked, "Why did Big Brother visit me here?" Hearing this question, Qinjun immediately pushed the fifth prince into a corner, saying, "What is my brother talking about? This thing belongs to the entire kingdom, and anyone is free to come here? Or maybe you want to rebel by inciting all the soldiers here?" All of a sudden, all the guards there were shocked to hear Qinjun's frank words. Qinjun even felt annoyed because his older brother's play on words could destroy his good name. Because he didn't want to stay there long, Qinjun immediately asked him to prepare 100 of the strongest Praetorian soldiers. But the request was rejected by his younger brother because the strongest people in the Praetorial had their own rules and great responsibilities and could not be recruited haphazardly. But Qinjun didn't care about these rules because protecting him was an important thing as a crown candidate. Hearing that clearly made Kim furious. Fortunately, the fifth prince was assisted by Zhao Litong, the leader of the Praetorian army, who firmly refused the third prince's impudence, because their position was immediately taken by the Pretoria army glorious. Because Qinjun previously did not know the bald man, he clearly concluded that his father's order to select 100 bodyguards was prohibited by Zhao Litong, so he would ask his father to retract his order and thus decided to leave immediately. He finally offered his 200 troops to guard it, but actually Qinjun didn't need a single guard soldier. He just wants to make trouble. Qinjun didn't forget to tell Senyun to tell the emperor in detail without taking sides, and Qinjun himself would say goodbye to continue his training. On the other hand, Qinjun, who saw his brother's behavior, was very upset, so planned to make a defense and immediately meet his father. So he would ask his father to retract his order, so he decided to take his leave from there. He finally offered his 200 troops to guard it, but actually Qin didn't need a single guard soldier. He just wants to make trouble. Qin didn't forget to tell Senyan to tell the emperor in detail without taking sides, and Qin himself would say goodbye to continue his training. On the other hand, Qin, who saw his brother's behavior, was very upset, so planned to make a defense and immediately meet his father. So he would ask his father to retract his order, so he decided to take his leave from there. He finally offered his 200 troops to guard it. But actually Qin didn't need a single guard soldier. He just wants to make trouble. Qin didn't forget to tell Senyan to tell the emperor in detail without taking sides, and Qin himself would say goodbye to continue his training. On the other hand, Qin, who saw his brother's behavior, was very upset, so planned to make a defense and immediately meet his father. Qin didn't forget to tell Senyan to tell the emperor in detail without taking sides, and Qin himself would say goodbye to continue his training. On the other hand, Qin, who saw his brother's behavior, was very upset, so planned to make a defense and immediately meet his father. Qin didn't forget to tell Senyan to tell the emperor in detail without taking sides, and Qin himself would say goodbye to continue his training. On the other hand, Qin, who saw his brother's behavior, was very upset, so planned to make a defense and immediately meet his father. In the Kinzine Hall, you can see Sen, who has told the details of what happened, and the emperor also understands the intentions of the bodyguard's unwillingness, for the third prince's misunderstanding of thoughts that he is unable to balance. At the same time, the fifth prince also came asking for time to talk to the emperor, and after his father allowed it. Qin immediately defended himself by pretending that he did not understand his elder brother's request for the 100 strongest bodyguards. Plus, he made up a story saying that Qin insulted the Praetorian soldiers and almost got into a fight with Zhao. Hearing in the distance now, he understood the intention of the third prince, who ordered him to explain what really happened without defending anyone. So Qin had prepared a hole for the fifth prince to show his nature. Even the emperor finally knew that the fifth prince was good at twisting the facts. Hearing this lie, his father was very angry with the nature of the kingdom as his own. Finally, the emperor immediately revoked the status of Kim over the west of the kingdom and would lead it directly. Now Kim can only be silent with a burning grudge against his brother. The news even quickly reached Qin, who was practicing. Sooner or later, the boxing history would really be greedy. But now Qin has to get ready for the Qian New Talent Gathering and will put in his best efforts there. Finally, the emperor immediately revoked the status of Kim over the west of the kingdom and would lead it directly. Now Kim can only be silent with a burning grudge against his brother. The news even quickly reached Qin, who was practicing. Sooner or later, the boxing history would really be greedy. But now Qin has to get ready for the Qian New Talent Gathering and will put in his best efforts there. Finally, the emperor immediately revoked the status of Kim over the west of the kingdom and would lead it directly. Now Kim can only be silent with a burning grudge against his brother. The news even quickly reached Qin, who was practicing. Sooner or later, the boxing history would really be greedy. But now, Qin has to get ready for the Qian New Talent Gathering and will put in his best efforts there. A week later, at the palace of the Yue Kingdom, it turned out to be very boring, and Qin was very sorry that he did not bring Daji and friends. But amidst the gossiping crowd of cultivators, a familiar figure walked slowly over to Qin. With his dark aura, yes, that figure was Zhu Junjie of Shuangling sect. For no definite reason, he suddenly tried to slash Qin, but unfortunately failed. Then the boy genius challenged Qin to a manly duel. At a glance, the Qian Yue Kingdom has many small kingdoms in it, such as the Yuguan Kingdom or the Yue Kingdom, and many more, of course. Qin has also officially become the king of Yue Kingdom. At the event where Qin and Zhu Junzhou were now the center of attention among the cultivators there, many were betting on Master Zhu's victory, as his cultivation had already reached the foundation-forming limit. If the king of Yue accepts the challenge and wins, it is likely that his name will spread even more out there. Now, in the minds of all cultivators, even Nan, does Qin dare to accept the challenge or not? As if answering the doubts of the cultivators there, Qin accepted the challenge with a smile, and yes, there was no reason to refuse. But after answering the challenge, Qin was laughed at by Nan and several cultivators there. because Qinjun's cultivation level that they knew was only at the second stage of foundation formation, and Zhao was a genius disciple in the Xiangli sect. After they got ready, Qinjun immediately took out his spear weapon. After that, the show immediately advanced towards Qinjun, and it seemed that the boy genius was more powerful than before. Now they were attacking and defending each other as best they could. In fact, he almost landed his ultimate skill on Qinjun before he turned small like Sun Wukong's technique. Immediately, everyone there looked shocked by Qinjun's disappearance in that battle. Now Qinjun could take a breather while looking at Zhou, who was filled with a strange demonic energy. Actually, letting that genius boy live was a risky thing. Plus, he's one of the disciples of the great Shuanglin sect, so that Qinjun could not kill him openly. For now, defeating him is the best way. Instead of thinking far away while walking with his back to prepare to issue his greatest skill, namely Dragon Spear. And yes, now he is defeated by his magical situation. On the other hand, there is a mysterious figure who is suddenly injured and shocked by the great attack. He is the owner of the demonic aura in the inn at that time. In fact, it was he who controlled Zhao's actions to challenge Qinjun in this meeting. But it had to end in an unexpected defeat, a minor injury that came from a mysterious attack. Now the figure is increasingly curious about the noble king and wishes to immediately face him. Back to Qinjun's fight, where everyone there really didn't expect that King Yue won, even though it was cunning. Even now he has been respected by some cultivators, but as usual, and Nan didn't seem to accept the cunning victory of his ex-fiancé. Fortunately, Xian interrupted these words by saying that this was Qinjun's second victory over Brother Zhao after their sparring in the Shuangling sect. Hearing that fact made Nan a little regretful for having insulted her earlier, even though she looked relaxed. After the fight, Qinjun, still thinking about the phenomenon of the demonic aura clinging to Zoe and mysteriously disappearing when he was defeated. He should not ignore this because it would be very dangerous if a demonic clan appeared in the middle of the kingdom. After that game, time went by fast, and it was already a day. Before dawn, it seemed that Qinjun had also woken up from his sleep. Along with getting reward notifications from shocking missions, all the geniuses on the Qianwei talent show, and even Qinjun himself didn't expect to complete the mission so quickly. Thanks to the gossip that was easily spread, Qinjun actually didn't care because he couldn't wait to see the lottery he would get. But when the system finished sweeping the lots, Qinjun was immediately shocked to find that what he got this time was an apron. The apron was in Qinjun's hands. Baji happened to enter his room, and Qinjun looked panicked and tried to beg for Daji to listen to his explanation first, and luckily Daji allowed him. But Qinjun couldn't come up with a good reason, so he asked for extra time. Without thinking, Daji immediately approached his master while lifting his chin and said, "Sir, I can't have many reasons. It's just that I'm worried that you are addicted, and in the end you can't hold yourself back. So let me wake you up," said Daji. Daji immediately kicked Qinjun's seed and beat him barbarically, but Qinjun apparently never gave up and even thought of asking Guanyue to teach him tricks so he could be resilient. Baji happened to enter his room, and Qinjun looked panicked and tried to beg for Daji to listen to his explanation first, and luckily Daji allowed him. But Qinjun couldn't come up with a good reason, so he asked for extra time. Without thinking, Daji immediately approached his master while lifting his chin and said, "Sir, I can't have many reasons. It's just that I'm worried that you are addicted, and in the end you can't hold yourself back. So let me wake you up," said Daji. Daji immediately kicked Qinjun's seed and beat him barbarically, but Qinjun apparently never gave up and even thought of asking Guanyue to teach him tricks so he could be resilient. Baji happened to enter his room, and Qinjun looked panicked and tried to beg for Daji to listen to his explanation first, and luckily, Daji allowed him. But Qinjun couldn't come up with a good reason, so he asked for extra time. Without thinking, Daji immediately approached his master while lifting his chin and said, "Sir, I can't have many reasons. It's just that I'm worried that you are addicted, and in the end you can't hold yourself back. So let me wake you up," said Daji. Daji immediately kicked Qinjun's seed and beat him barbarically. But Qinjun apparently never gave up, and even thought of asking Guanyue to teach him tricks so he could be resilient. But Qinjun couldn't come up with a good reason, so he asked for extra time. Without thinking, Daji immediately approached his master while lifting his chin and said, Sir, I can't have many reasons. It's just that I'm worried that you are addicted and in the end you can't hold yourself back. So let me wake you up, said Daji. Daji immediately kicked Qinjun's seed and beat him barbarically. But Qinjun apparently never gave up, and even thought of asking Guan Yue to teach him tricks so he could be resilient. But Qinjun couldn't come up with a good reason, so he asked for extra time. Without thinking, Daji immediately approached his master while lifting his chin and said, Sir, I can't have many reasons. It's just that I'm worried that you are addicted, and in the end, you can't hold yourself back. So let me wake you up, said Daji. Daji immediately kicked Qinjun's seed and beat him barbarically. But Qinjun apparently never gave up, and even thought of asking Guan Yue to teach him tricks so he could be resilient. Daji immediately kicked Qinjun's seed and beat him barbarically. But Qinjun apparently never gave up, and even thought of asking Guan Yue to teach him tricks so he could be resilient. Daji immediately kicked Qinjun's seed and beat him barbarically. But Qinjun apparently never gave up and even thought of asking Guan Yue to teach him tricks so he could be resilient. Before he left for a few more days to the city, before morning broke its light, that same day the news of Qinjun's victory against Zhu spread rapidly throughout the capital, and the first myth of the younger generation was shattered by Qinjun. A few days later, it was time for Guan Yue to leave for the city. Qinjun didn't expect that the second Master Guan would leave so soon before he fully mastered the technique he taught. After that, Qinjun received a summons from the emperor, and as if he understood what would happen after the news was spread, his father immediately greeted his son with pride for his victory yesterday. But his father's goal? Not only that, he then discussed the Qianglong material art program from the dynasty, an event that occurs once every 3 years. This is a good opportunity for cultivators from various empires to enter the sect. If Qinjun manages to break into the top 100 ranking, he will get the chance to choose to enter one of the 7 strongest sects as he wishes. After hearing that explanation, Qinjun would enthusiastically join in, plus the event was related to a side mission. Then Qinjun asked the conditions for participating in the event, and the emperor replied that each kingdom could only send 3 people. His father's plan was that he would send Qinjun, King Tian, and Kim. In 10 days, they will depart with escort from the royal army. His father now had high expectations for his third son, and Qinjun was also ready to inflate those hopes while thinking of looking for a chance to kill Jin Yu. 10 days later, they were seen in the middle of their journey and are now preparing to rest. In the carriage of the third prince's entourage, Qinjun put for Daji to rest first, and he would stand guard with Xian. Then Daji approached Qinjun and teased him by asking, "Is his master still angry over the past incident so he doesn't want to sleep with him?" Hearing that while feeling a soft sensation against his skin, Qinjun answered the doubt diplomatically. "This is only for security reasons as they are on guard against monsters and sneaky people," Qinjun said with a lecherous face. Then Daji continued to ask why he wasn't allowed to kill Qinjun right now. Hearing this, Qinjun held Daji's hand and said that he didn't need to dirty his hands for someone like Qinjun. Suddenly they were all startled by the sound of a monster's howl, with its golden core aura and cultivation level that was even higher than Qinjun's. All the bodyguards there immediately prepared to fight, and he appeased the princes to stay calm, as the monsters around here weren't that strong. It seemed that the wolf monsters were able to offset the siege of several bodyguards. According to Daji's view, the wolf had the king's bloodline from the advanced wolf. They were a demon species that existed from ancient times, and their strength was not to be underestimated. But as the ages progress, their strength has decreased. Even though the little wolf in front of him wasn't of pure blood, but the possibility that he could turn into a wolf king. Suddenly the wolf went berserk and sprayed its powerful energy towards Qinjun. But the attack was successfully resisted by Qinjun without even a scratch. Because the wolf was looking for trouble first, Qinjun wanted to fight it, while practicing the movement he had just learned, namely the instant technique. An instant fast shot accompanied by lightning immediately knocked the wolf down. Then Qinjun pointed his spear and offered the wolf surrender or die. But after receiving the attack, the wolf still struggled to its feet, which made Qinjun amazed by the power of the last species of wolf blood. Some soldiers also wanted to help the third prince to kill the monster, but stopped. Then the situation was sparked by Qinjun's order, which seemed to be ambiguous between letting Qinjun handle it alone for fear that the wolf would go berserk. Seeing the ridiculous behavior of his sister, he increasingly wanted to kill him as soon as possible. Ignoring Yu Qinjun's clumsy behavior, he immediately gave another shock attack to the wolf monster so that he could answer his question. After Qinjun's last question and the pressure from Xianxian and Baji's genitals, the monster finally gave in and obeyed Qinjun. Qinjun immediately named his mount Xiaohui, but the wolf refused because he wanted a cooler and fiercer name. Then Qinjun offered two other name options between Xiaochang and Alwisora. Hearing the name Wolf at a glance, chose Alwisora, which sounded decent. But because he had a bit of Wolf King bloodline, he wanted his name to be surnamed Kang. Because he was annoyed, he immediately decided unilaterally his name, namely Chan. Qinjun immediately named his mount Xiaohui, but the wolf refused because he wanted a cooler and fiercer name. Then Qinjun offered two other name options between Xiaochang and Alwisora. Hearing the name Wolf at a glance, chose Alwisora, which sounded decent. But because he had a bit of Wolf King bloodline, he wanted his name to be surnamed Kang. Because he was annoyed, he immediately decided unilaterally his name, namely Chan. Qinjun immediately named his mount Xiaohui, but the wolf refused because he wanted a cooler and fiercer name. Then Qinjun offered two other name options between Xiaochang and Alwisora. Hearing the name Wolf at a glance, chose Alwisora, which sounded decent. But because he had a bit of Wolf King bloodline, he wanted his name to be surnamed Kang. Because he was annoyed, he immediately decided unilaterally his name, namely Chan. All the warriors there were amazed at the third prince's success in taming a gold core level demon beast, and there were also those who were jealous of Qinjun's success. Even he had already prepared a plan for the assassination the next day. Feeling that someone was talking about it, made Qinjun sneeze. Before he received a system notification telling him that the host had successfully conquered his first mount, and had the chance to summon a god or a demon. Seeing the notification, Qinjun looked happy with the reward he got, even wanted to do his conquest once again. Then Taichi asked about the wolf, and quickly Qinjun replied that he had tamed the monster, and he would be joining the trip soon. Qinjun got into the carriage to rest, and asked Daji to take care of his new sister. Of course, Qinjun was very enthusiastic about the glass this time, and when the system randomized the prize, the summoner he got had a bald silhouette and was on his way. Just looking at her silhouette made Qinjun a little worried about that figure. But he prefers to sleep because tomorrow his journey will be accelerated. The next day, the commander asked the readiness of the plan from his master. Looking at the enemy's side gains 1 additional strength. Hearing that he seemed not to care because he was sure of the person he had hired. The next day, the commander asked the readiness of the plan from his master. Looking at the enemy's side gains 1 additional strength. Hearing that he seemed not to care because he was sure of the person he had hired. The next day, the commander asked the readiness of the plan from his master. Looking at the enemy's side gains 1 additional strength. Hearing that he seemed not to care because he was sure of the person he had hired. On the other hand, Qinjun even joked Ria with Daji and friends, while looking for opportunities to do perverted things. But Qinjun's seduction has not worked for Daji. He even dared to make fun of Qinjun by pushing him into the pool when he was asked to scrub his back. Daji then emphasized that their relationship was only master and servant, not a couple. But after that, Daji shyly stepped into the pool. Half an hour later, they were seen having dinner, and the guard was surprised by the arrival of a monk who was the messenger of the 5th prince. The monk had a strong aura that even Taishi could not know his cultivation level. Then the monk expressed his intention, which he came to hunt demons in the Qianyue royal family. The monk immediately greeted Qinjun and asked about the demon he had mentioned. Finally, the arrival of the noon monk made the 5th prince smile happily and immediately pointed at the demon he commanded. It turned out that the demon who was being made an excuse was Kang. Immediately, Qinjun asked the bald man to leave because there was no need to interfere with his mount. But the monk immediately issued an energy palm strike that aimed straight at Qinjun as a cleansing agent for the evil spirits in his body. Immediately, all the soldiers there shouted warning Qinjun to dodge, and luckily Daji moved quickly to save his master right away. Daji got into battle mode while Qinjun was still analyzing the bald donkey's level, while asking his attack intent, without knowing in advance which is right and wrong. There was even a hint of ridicule from Qinjun about which evil temple he was staying at. And immediately some nonsense from Qinjun then saying that monks came from Jehovah's Temple, a famous temple on the main island. Even soldiers who heard that name seemed to remember that the monk in the temple was famous for rumors of his strength being able to kill hundreds of demons alone. Even they are respected by the people there. Now they started worrying about the fate of Qinjun, including Qinjun, who loudly said, "I invite him for the sake of heaven and kingdom, free from evil devils like you." After these words, Swansang immediately took out his cleaning technique, but at the same time, an even more powerful Buddhist technique directly hit Swansang from above to the shock of everyone there. This technique comes from Qinjun's summoner, who gets a human-type hero named Monk Fahai with the title of the Legend of the White Snake. Seeing that figure immediately alerted his master to be careful, because that person was probably from Void Transformation Real, and coincidentally, this figure was Swansang's uncle, who immediately asked the boy's reason for coming to the kingdom of Qianyue. With a happy smile, Qinjun already had the upper